All right. So, where are we? Here. Okay. It was the week before Icereign, and all through the keep, not a creen was stirring, not even to sweep. The books were stacked in a library with care, in hopes that Remy couldn't reach them up there. The party were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of White Luke danced in their heads. Green in his bed, full from eating scrap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out in the courtyard there rose such a clatter, Rose sprang from her bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window she flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon on the breast of the new-fallen snow gave the luster of midday objects below. But when what to her wondering eyes should appear but a tall, handsome druid, ejecting her fear. He wore heavy skins and carried a staff, and he called with a booming voice and a laugh. Come, friends who saved me, it's time for a rest. You must join us for Icereign. No, not a jest. And with him came a flurry of winter snow. And as he calls for his friends, Rose's heart did grow. No Arden, no Elishan, no Byron and Crean, on Remy, on Rose, on Vela and Claufi. From the top of the keep, from the servants' quarters, now come away, come with me all. As dry leaves before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with their friend, not fearing the sly. As the party left for the feast, with Crean along too, they didn't see the beast following them with the fur deepest blue. As they marched on their journey to drink, eat, and sing, watching from the shadows crawled that evil thing. As they wander the woods in drink and merriment, the Olfangr booze all year in ferment, they witnessed the wood nymphs dancing and prancing, though the party didn't know. The stranger who's glancing, hungry and staring down at their necks, it follows in the trees, hungry on its track. Its eyes so dark and its face like stone, its mouth a wide snarl and its teeth like broken bone, its saliva black dripping, spewing soulless smell, and the eyes black and red like casting an evil spell. Though the party wandered on, merry and cold, the creature stalked onward, ever more bold. Its legs like trunks and horns like long swords, its fur is matted as though made from cords. It enjoys the chubby and plump, and especially elves. They tasted so good, though they knew this not themselves. With a snarl of its jaw and a twist of its head, gave anyone who'd watch a reason to dread. It spoke not a word, but stalked ever on, slavering for food and waiting for them to be gone. Laying its fingers across the branches, it halts in a tree, squatting on its haunches. It sprung to the next tree, and yet another. It liked the look of that Olfangr, and maybe his brother. And though this journey seems scary, fear not, and remember, happy Icereign to all, and a merry December. So,
Woo!
that was sort
dope.
of.
That was awesome, dude.
Thank you very much.
Bravo.
That is sort of, I don't know, spoilers, I guess. But
So is Rose the Grinch in this?
maybe.
Sure.
So basically, we're going to go back to the start of that poem, and it's the early hours of the morning, sort of maybe the equivalent to 4 a.m., 5 a.m. maybe, and you're all in bed when you do indeed hear a loud voice calling from the courtyard, as Arthas appears, inviting you all to come down and see him. He already invited you, and you all already knew that you were being invited to come to Icereign with the Olfangr, but you didn't really know when he was supposed to arrive, and apparently it's very early in the morning. So as you all make your way down to see him, grumbling, and Remy, I imagine, is probably not best pleased. Well, that's where we'll start, with you guys very early in the morning, preparing to go on your journey to meet with the Olfangr and have your feast. So I guess
it is now our
the first
obligation to
thing-
completely derail that entire poem, by the way.
Of course. That's why, if you listen, it's just mostly describing the monster, because I didn't want to be like, and then they did this, and then they did that, and and then you guys just would not.
Everybody sleeps in. We miss the party. Session over.
Yeah, you got lost in the woods, and then you spent 3 days trying to get home.
So are we in the courtyard, or are we on the road?
Yeah, so you guys are in the courtyard. We're sort of backtracking a little bit from the poem. So you can sort of, or we'll start with you guys kind of coming downstairs to be greeted by the sight of Arthas in a big fucking woolly cloak. And sort of as you appear, he seems like he's been awake for a little while, so he's not like yawning and tired and depressed looking. And he looks pretty happy and pretty excited. And he'll sort of be that kind of morning person where you're just like, oh, how do you have so much energy? As he's sort of waiting for you guys to come down and get ready to go. And he will say, as you come down, he'll say, so, we're all ready to go?
Do I look ready? I'm still in my long johns, goddammit.
Is this when we give presents?
Well,
Presents.
we don't really give presents, so I guess beforehand would probably be a good time. There won't be much opportunity for that once the feast starts.
Okay, like Alishon is also that annoying morning person, and so like she's like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and like hands, like arms full of packages. And so whenever everyone comes down, she'll like hand over the packages to everyone.
I didn't get you anything.
That's okay. And she will hand you a wrapped wooden box, and just hand out all of the gifts to everyone. And when Remy opens his gift, it's like a nice little wooden box, and in the center of it is a bottle of gin, but it's been packaged and surrounded with like a large set of large salt crystals. And whenever you lift up the bottle, there's a little note it says use a little bit of the salt in your bath next time. Trust me, L. And they're basically bubbly little effervescent crystals. And so she got you bath salts, but hid it with gin.
I guess I gotta start taking baths now.
What did she get for everyone else? You may as well describe it now.
Yeah, okay. And then Rose would have gotten Rose like a large bottle of thrice ice brandy and 2 small like little decanter crystals to share with someone special. And then Byron, she would have gotten a new Magris de Tugnut book, an autobiography of sorts, because she knows that he is a fan of the half-orc explorer. And then Arden would have gotten a small stamped leather pouch that has a line of dwarvish runes that say Spider Friend on them. It's perfectly sized for his little clockwork spider, and it's kind of meant to attach to either his belt or the leather strap of his quiver. So it's like basically a little place for his little spider dude to crawl in and out of. And then last but not least, she would kind of embarrassingly, I guess, hand a small like leather braided like arm bracelet thing to Arthas, which has like some of Morwyn's feathers attached to the end.
Yeah, you definitely see that he was not expecting like a gift, and doesn't really know what to do, so he takes it and he doesn't say thank you, but you get the impression with whatever insight you have that it's not out of a disregard for you or the gift, He's like staring at it intently, and he's got this big grin on his face. And he puts it on, and then we'll eventually just kind of look up and thank you for it, but sort of quietly and awkwardly. But he's like, he just sort of keeps looking at it, kind of for the rest of the day, and will wear it constantly. A gift isn't, it's not unheard of, but it's not really a common thing in his culture. So he's extremely grateful and kind of blown away.
Elishan is also the type that would be very bouncy as people are opening up her gift, as she wants to see the reactions to it all.
Definitely.
Remy's reaction is muted, but you can tell he's touched.
Well, I guess we're doing gifts now then. I have something for everyone. And Rose will hand out little charms that she made, and these are traditional in my people, the dwarves, to give these charms out to friends for blessings. So that is what I made for you, or Rose made for everyone.
Super pretty.
Yeah. And the runes on them say, unharmed, go forth, unharmed, return, unharmed, safe home.
Thank you, Rose.
You're welcome.
Unharmed safety?
Unharmed.
The last one.
The last one is unharmed, safe home.
Safe home, right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, who else got me something?
I guess I'll go. So since Remy just spoke up, Arden brings him over what appears to be a carved wooden rooster, but upon closer inspection is also a jug that can have alcohol in it.
Ah.
You drink from the beak.
You said it looks like a rooster?
Yeah.
Nice.
Because Remy's the cock of the walk.
How well you know me, sir.
It's just that laugh
every time. He hands to Rose. I kept wanting to call her Jade there for a minute. He hands to Rose a symbol, basically, probably of the actual quality level of a holy symbol. It's a sunburst and then a rose in the center carved into it. Just because I don't know if she's ever mentioned actually having a holy symbol on her, but yeah, if not, you have one now. Because the sunburst is the symbol of Olfangr, right?
Yes.
Yes. All right. He hands to Byron a carved wooden owl that also it's like one of its claws is up, and it basically holds a book in place. So that you can it's like a book stand you can read from.
I'm with you. Is it are the wings splayed so the book can lie flat on top of the wings?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's basically holding the book up for you. That way. And then he gives to Elishan. And I'm not entirely sure how the mechanics of this are going to work, but it's basically a spider that you can flip around that becomes a human. It's got little hooks and bars and such in it that allow it to transform. So he gave you the world's first transformer.
He gave her a puzzle figurine.
Arthas definitely looks super awkward.
And he didn't make anything for Arthas because he wasn't aware that Arthas was coming to Christmas.
Arthas did invite you to Christmas.
We're going to his Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. He didn't invite us.
And it's not Christmas, right? What's the holiday?
Icereign.
Icereign.
As in the reign of a king, not.
Oh, And for Kreen, he brings out this really, really big diorama carving that has a kobold on it that looks suspiciously like Kreen, riding a dragon that's breathing fire at fleeing goblins.
Kreen begins to well up a little bit at that, I think. He's had a pretty tough upbringing being a kobold, and so just being given anything at all kind of blows him away. And so he's just sort of in tears at this point a little bit, but is not showing it, definitely, and not in front of Remy.
I was about to say, Remy was about to elbow him in the ribs and be like, toughen up, you pansy.
Yeah, he's trying very hard not to show it, kind of sniffling a bit, but you can probably all tell, like he's making weird, like, kind of, like,
hiccuping
noises.
Sure.
Yeah.
If he's trying to hold it together, Remy will leave him alone.
He's creening, you might say.
Oh.
And
You might.
that is the extent of my gifts.
Yeah,
And,
awesome.
He also thanks everybody that gave him gifts.
Well, I didn't get you people anything.
I mean,
I
sure
think-
you did. And Elishan gives like Remy a big hug.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. No, wait, most of you know that I grew up pretty poor, and we didn't do presents in Icereign, but we drank. So I guess you can have some of this.
And he pulls out a crate of the moonshine he's just made and hands you each a bottle.
Even
We're gonna get
looking
shit
at
faced at a brewing party.
I kind of feel like even looking at it makes you feel a little bit lightheaded. Just how
It's pretty
fucking
intense
strong
stuff.
Remy can be.
Elishan would probably like pop the top and like her
Pass
like
out.
lean back because like her eyes would start burning.
Make a Constitution saving throw.
So I imagine that it's strong, but like very.
I guess you are a halfling
14.
Yeah,
as well. So like, you know,
I can drink
you guys
most of you
are-
under the table.
definitely. But yeah, yeah. I guess like being a halfling, you know, you're a good cook as well.
Sure.
Or
Yeah.
at
No,
least
it's
have
old
some-
family recipe. You know, like
Yeah.
so. Hoochmonger Moonshine was not world famous, but
Coveted.
famous in his valley.
Yeah,
It
highly
was like
covered.
high quality stuff. Yeah.
Famous
good,
enough
it's
for it to
strong.
be his last name. So yeah.
There you go.
I rely
was-
on my belt of dwarven kind to give me that extra constitution to chug it.
Yeah, you just like you get home, you're feeling fine, you like take off the belt to go to bed or whatever, and you just keel over.
Oh, here's what Remy's gonna do. Before everyone's getting ready. Once his stuff is always ready to go, so all he has to do is armor up.
He's
While
got to
everyone
go
else is-
back. Yeah.
Exactly. While everyone else is getting ready, he'll make some moonshine hot toddies for everybody and put them into some insulated thermoses.
Awesome. Yeah.
So for the road.
Oh yeah.
I think, especially when like Remy was like, "I didn't get you people anything." Like, if you look like behind him or over him, like Byron's just like holding all these bundles of gifts that he's been given, and his like glasses are slightly askew, and he's just like, "Oh, is it that time already?" And then he like summons Milton and just kind of offloads the presents, and he goes upstairs. Byron like straightens himself out. I'll think of something, and then like just adjusts his gloves. He doesn't
Awesome.
really know how to handle people giving him presents at all. And for a man who remembers everything, it's quite telling that he'd forgot this.
Don't worry about it, Hux. We're gonna loosen you up on this trip, all right?
I'm not. Maybe they've already spent a Christmas together. Maybe he knows what that means.
I imagine that they've been together for at least a year or two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely. Like,
But then
he's
again, I could totally also see that without the others here, your Christmas could definitely be spent like Remy drinking, Byron just reading something and not really knowing
Absolutely.
what time. So
I mean, neither of them
it's hit and
brought,
miss whether or not you actually celebrated it last year.
neither of them really brought presents to this or expected each other. So I presume that's their
Good point.
Christmas. Like the Hoochmonger Christmas is just drink, and Byron knows that. Perhaps.
But this is the first time we'll be able to do it with some Hoochmonger moonshine, so
It's
it's
true.
a big year.
Yeah. Awesome.
And we killed
Which,
it with Demigod. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, which if you're ever considering getting your DM a gift, some moonshine would come. So with that, then Arthas is kind of struck dumb still by his little bracer that he got, or his armband thing.
Remy will walk over. Remy will hand him a hot toddy and say, "Here, drink this. Maybe be less of a prick."
He will gladly throw it down his neck. And Remy, you think for a moment you sort of see him and you're like, oh, this guy's an old hand. Maybe we do have some common ground after all.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And so he kind of says, right, well, if that's everything, then I guess we should head out. It's a few hours into to get there, and well, it's a whole day celebration, and you don't want to miss any of it. So that's why I'm here so early, you see. But
who all will be traveling with us?
Well, you're all invited, and anyone you want to bring along. And sort of the others are kind of got up to see what all the noise is about. Everyone's kind of bleary-eyed. And he says, so anyone you'd like to come is more than welcome. And he sort of looks around and says, he looks around to the others. Says, anyone else want to come? You see Mike. Oh, sorry. You see Micah comes up, but Helga doesn't. And Micah sort of puts his hand up and says, I'll stay. Helga's not feeling well. I think she's got a bit of a cold, so I'll be staying. But have a good time anyway. And he'll head back inside. And he looks happy enough. He's kind of an old man and doesn't really... He's probably using his wife's illness as an excuse because he doesn't really feel like going to a party. But doesn't want to seem, aloof or whatever. And what were you going to say, Dan? Sorry?
Is Vela there?
Yeah.
Seeing as you hadn't seen the sun before, this will be quite the experience for you, Vela. I think you should come and see how we celebrate being together at this time of year. And
she does look sheepish, but she kind of in a small voice says, yeah, I'd love to come if that's okay. And sort of looks at Arthas as if he's like, gonna tell her no and shout at her and berate her or something. But again, he just smiles at her and doesn't register, that she's a drow and doesn't give her any dirty looks or anything. And says, yeah, of course. And he seems completely unfazed by the ridiculous group that you guys have going on.
Remy would... Oh, go ahead, Jade.
Let's say, Rose, you should join us. You've been working hard helping me train Kareem.
You mean...
You say Rose, you should...
Hello.
Thank you, Rose. You're welcome, Rose.
Wait, so who are you talking to?
Willow, I assume.
Willow? Okay.
Yeah, she sort of brushes the hair out of her face and is sort of pulling it back. She has donned her armor very quickly in the morning because she heard a ruckus and sort of went into battle stations a little bit. But said, yeah, if that's okay, and kind of Bazrag's there next to her, and he says, do you mind if I? And he sort of chuckles and just kind of hits her on the shoulder. Says, no, you go. I'll stay behind. I don't mind. I've had my fair share of parties anyway.
He's got all the new guardsmen to watch over anyway. Make sure that they're up to stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Remy will take a moment and give Bazrag a bottle of moonshine and say, here,
For you and the boys.
And he'll take it and sort of tuck it under his bad arm, and kind of just nod and say, "Thank you, sir." Oh,
Ain't no sir, but you stay warm this winter, all right?
and yourself.
All right.
So, unless there's anything else, we should probably go. And then he sort of catches himself and says, "Oh, you guys should all bring weapons. Not that anything bad's going to happen. Just, it's whatever you find in the forest can. Well, there's all manner of things in the forest, and not all of them are friendly. So it might be a good idea to bring something, just in case."
Remy cocks his eyebrow, gives him this weird stare. He's strapped with 6 different weapons. He goes, "Oh, really? Thanks for the tip."
And he just will sort of give you a boisterous kind of smack on the shoulder and say, "All right, little one. Anyway, let's be."
I'm sorry. What did you just call me?
And he'll sort of turn around, and kind of actually he'll probably kneel down to your height, and will say, "Well, you're gonna stay being called little one until you can prove that you can at least keep
Punch
up
him
with
right
me
in the nose.
in drinks." Yeah, and then smack right in the nose, and he is sat on his ass, he's bleeding, and he is just bellowing with laughter. Unless you punched him so hard you knocked him out, which I assume was not the intent.
No.
But he is definitely a fan of Remy's, and sort of gets up, and he won't hit you again or anything, but he'll say, "All right, fair enough. I can tell that I've underestimated you, but
Well, you feel free to
we'll see how good."
however you please. I don't give 2 shits off a rat's ass.
And he just keeps chuckling, and turns around and starts heading towards the gate.
Well, once he turns his back, who has the helm of teleportation?
I think it's attuned to Byron.
I mean, I'll have it in the bag or anything.
I mean, that's if you're bringing it.
Hey, why don't we let this jackass walk 100 yards off and then teleport ahead of him?
I mean, I would like to get to. It's dangerous to teleport to places you don't know, so it'd be nice to take the walk.
All right.
To the Olfangr tribe.
You don't kind of want to use that helm, though? A little bit.
I'm considering it.
Just saying.
I'll keep it in mind. Still, I think it'd be nice for a walk. And Christmas tradition in some place. Oh, Icereign tradition in some places.
All right, just don't try to hold my hand.
Shouldn't be a trouble. I know what happens to people who do.
So, the walk, to begin with, will be relatively uneventful. But Arthas is definitely walking and drinking the hooch he was given. And will sort of be, towards the end is probably walking in a slightly zigzag pattern. But yeah, he'll be more than happy to kind of answer any questions or speak to you, unless and you guys can sort of roleplay at any moments that you had planned or things you'd like to ask him or what have you.
Remy will probably try to strike up some rousing halfling drinking songs. In his,
give us a rendition?
In his dulcet tones.
Yeah, definitely.
I once loved a girl from the valley. She was so lovely and sweet.
Inspiration, Dylan. Straight away. Inspiration
Arden
right
suddenly
there.
wishes he can cast silence.
I'll take it.
I think Byron's like playing music using minor illusion into his ears to
Yeah, get them noise cancelling headphones.
But yeah, Remy will just keep his eyes out. He might have given him some shit, but he'll take Arthas this morning to heart.
Did Remy give Kreen any booze?
Yeah, he'll make him a hot toddy.
Definitely.
The case is for everybody. Once we get to the party or on the London road, but he made everybody like a special drink.
Yeah, I mean you got to pre-drink, otherwise what's the point?
How long?
Kreen has not partaken in a great deal of alcohol before knowing you guys, or before this basically time. So he will be drunk off one drink, absolutely. And so it's just sort of he's kind of confused by the experience, and is kind of probably finding himself like slightly hanging off of Remy so that he doesn't fall over.
Remy will keep him up and like kind of help him out. Once Remy gets a couple drinks in him, he's a lot more friendly. Yeah. But he's not going to let Crane stop drinking. So he'll just keep giving him
the worst friend. Oh, I love it.
Totally.
Yeah, Elisha would probably would be nursing her hot toddy for a while because it sounds like she needs it. But
yeah, I'm testing the limits of the poison resistance along with this magic belt.
That's true. You and I both have poison resistance right now, so we can drink everybody under the table.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. And man, like it is strong hooch, I imagine. Like,
oh yeah,
it'll blow your fucking socks off.
Oh yeah.
Remy didn't make one for Vela, did he? Don't know.
He did not think to, but
that's okay.
She can certainly have some of the moonshine.
Byron is like walking, I don't know, a little bit behind the others or something, to one side with Vela and just sort of making his version of small talk, which is like telling it exactly like what kind of trees there are or about snow weather patterns or something. And he's like sipping on this hot toddy and then he offers it to Vela. This should keep your hands warm.
She will take it and have a sip and will just like recoil with the taste and like hand it back and say, not for me, I don't think.
There should be some more palatable libation when we reach this feast.
I hope so.
I'm not sure what you drink down there too often, but here we drink to excess.
I mean, what we drank down there wasn't really pleasant either. It was generally alcohol made from moss and fungus. So, yeah, I'd just generally steer clear because, well, I've heard there's wine and that's supposed to be nice, but everything I've tried has always been sour like that.
We can find you something, I'm sure.
Yeah, but she'll be more than happy just to walk next to you and listen to your discourse on the various natural environment. She's intrigued.
Has she been like? Is everywhere around here roughly kind of snowy? So
it is like
with this kind of
it's very snowy.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously, a bit less so in the forest.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hella snowy.
I think I don't know how long this trip takes, but like when everyone's settled in for being generally kind of friendly, and maybe Byron has had a little too much or some amount of this hot toddy, he will just like give Vela. He would stop, and that would probably make her like look at him, and then he like gives her a wink and behind him raises a snowball in the mage hand, and he throws it, like, aiming for the back of Remy's head.
Definitely. I was so sad that Dylan is dealing with his dog right now.
Oh shit! I didn't know he'd gone. I'm sorry.
No worries. But we can definitely do that. And I imagine it sort of like hits his head.
We can wait till he comes back. I want to get his nasally whine. But,
yeah, we do actually. We do need the original.
You back, Dylan? Can't hear you.
Hi.
Okay, cool. I was just saying, so at some point during the journey, when maybe he's had a little bit or some amount of your hooch, he kind of stops talking inanely, and Vela looks up at him and he gives her like a smile, and behind him a snowball raises in his mage hand, and he turns it and tries to pinpoint the back of your head.
Oh no. Okay, are you rolling an attack against me?
Yeah.
Okay. This is probably,
I guess,
because it's with my mage hand.
Is
it technically my spell attack?
Because it's your mental dexterity.
Yeah, attack
excellent.
Yes, a spell attack.
So would he have? So can I get a perception check to see if I notice him doing this? So
sure.
And then we can determine surprise or not.
Depends how drunk you are.
Good question. I don't know, how drunk am I, Rob?
I got a natural 20.
How drunk are you, Dylan?
You did not.
20.
Oh man. Well, natural 20.
That's awesome.
Fucking beans Remy in the back of the head.
Yeah.
It's like a 27.
Yeah. So I imagine it smacks Remy in the back of the head. He maybe stumbles a bit because it's probably like.
Are we walking?
A snowball to Remy is a lot bigger than a snowball to a human. And I imagine you sort of stumble, and Kreen falls over because he was leaning on you.
He turns, so Remy gets hit in the back of the head, immediately pulls out a dagger, and turns around, and he just whips it in Byron's direction, and it lands like right between his feet.
God damn it, Hux! I could have killed you.
No, Remy. How did you know it was me? Could have been any of these fine friends of ours.
So I see like a frosty mage hand just like floating by his head.
He might have the wherewithal to disappear it or hide it behind his back, but maybe.
Sorry, my dog was also freaking out.
I was gonna say, like, whatever. He's like, now, it could have been any of our friends, and like Remy is like, glaring at Byron. Like Elishon would pick up a snowball and toss it at Remy too, like as he's like glaring at Byron.
Make a snowball roll.
Oh God.
I have to do it the hard way because I don't have mage hands, so that will be a horrible 8.
Well, my armor class is 21.
I know.
Kreen sits up, giggling, and is just taken full in the face by Elishon's snowball as he's laughing.
All right, so Remy's going to pull Kreen up to his feet, look him right in the face, and say, "It's time for us to take down the big folk." And he's going to start making snowballs and just whipping them at Elishon and Byron.
Kreen will definitely attempt to join you.
All right, it's going for Byron first.
Actually, Rose, yeah, you can roll.
So, I shit you not, Dan. I just rolled a natural 20.
Yes.
Meant to be.
And he's aiming right for the nuts because he's running.
Oh,
yeah, cool. He's aiming head height. It only makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a critical hit.
2 points of damage. Ow.
Green got a non-natural 20.
Who was he firing at?
Elishon,
Probably Elishon.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so this all starts happening, and Vela looks genuinely petrified. Like, she's only recently been introduced to the concept of snow, and what is going on in front of her looks extremely scary. So she's just gonna step back and hide behind a tree, really confused. I imagine Arthas would probably also join in and just start winging snowballs around everyone. Is Rose joining in and Arden?
Yes.
Definitely. All right. So
I'm definitely up for any ranged combat.
yeah. So I imagine it's like everyone's having fun with snow, and then like Arden joins in and is just like throwing 5 snowballs, all perfectly hitting everyone in the face, and it suddenly stops being fun because he's just like,
Also, I have at 7th level, I have an ability called Curving Shot. So I can actually if I miss, I can make it target somebody else.
That's awesome. So, do we want to do like a mock combat for this?
definitely we want to.
Yeah. We could do like some kind of weird condensed rules or something like that, or we could just like have like rounds and mock hit points or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Bunch of ranged touch attacks sounds fine to me.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do is we won't bother with initiative. We'll just go left to right. Say who everyone's targeting, like my left to right on my screen or whatever. Say who you're targeting, and make just a straight D20 roll. And if you roll above a 10, you hit. If you roll below a 10, you miss. Because I can't be fucked to do a whole combat for snowballs.
Sure.
So, Elishan, who are you throwing a snowball at?
So how do we know when we win, though? Is there like first person to 3 hits kind of thing, or?
We'll just we'll assume whoever gets hit the most loses.
Yeah.
It's not who wins, it's who loses. That's
That's the thing.
I mean, that's always the case with snowballs, all right?
That's true. Remy's gonna be the first person to get pissed off and cry.
Elishan's going to throw a snowball at Rose, and she's going to hit with a 16.
Awesome. So Rose just gets
Raider.
winged with a fucking snowball. Byron?
Byron, because the alcohol is making him come out a little, is going to particularly hunt down Vela. That's a 21. But like he can be where he's standing, and the snowball can come round behind her and then just hit her in the back. And he's like just shrugging. With a
Looks a bit and sort of like recoils and like is so confused, and then just like after a moment of silence, like, and starts making her own snowball. And coming from her, that's probably gonna hurt. But Remy, who are you throwing at?
I think I will keep going for Hux. Take this motherfucker down. Thinks he's so smart. So that's I guess just Dex, right? So that's
we're just doing a straight D20. If you get above 10,
then he misses.
Like it's just a random thing.
Okay, so there were no modifiers at all.
Yeah. No, we're just doing it, so it's super quick. So you just hurl it, and it goes sailing past Byron, and I imagine there's probably some form of shit-eating grin as a response to the miss.
Yeah, I imagine he was standing looking at Valen, and this snowball like whizzes past his face, and he kind of like looks over with a grin on his face.
Keep smirking, smartass.
Rose and Green.
Kreen's gonna go for Elishan and miss. I imagine the alcohol is getting the best of him.
Yeah, he is like struggling to stand up.
And now, Willow, you need to think very carefully whose side you're going to be on. This is your moment to decide. And I'll throw one at Elishan. And miss horribly.
And okay, so Willow will say, well, I'm not sure I want to be on your team, and we'll sort of like dodge to one side and wing a snowball at you, Rose. And she'll hit. So it just like smacks you. Arden?
You only get hit by the people you really love.
Only they can truly hurt you.
See, I'll use my 2 ranged attacks. Remy and Elishan.
Wait,
No,
he gets two
we're just-
attacks? I get two
No,
attacks.
we're not.
No, just one.
Yeah, you don't get any of
We're
your
not doing
modifiers or
attack
class
rolls.
abilities.
It's just
Yeah, you
1d20
don't get your
roll it.
curved spot.
Ah, fine. I'll just use my.
Use an explosive snowball and hit multiple people.
Let's see.
No, you
It's
just
very-
roll 1d20.
No math. Just did you roll above a 10 or no?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's just if you rolled above a 10. So who are you hitting?
No modifiers.
I'll go with Elishan first.
Oh, jeez,
Yeah.
man.
Jeez, focus fire.
I didn't even
I've hit-
start this.
Yeah, Elishan, you're pretty much soaked as well because you're not wearing armor, so you're just wearing like robes or whatever. So it's probably freezing, but oh well.
Well, technically, I only got hit by the one, so.
Oh yeah, because Rose is just terrible.
That's true.
All right. Well, Vela is going to return fire at at Byron. She hits. So she just like, yeah, and she stands there kind of laughing, and then just picks up a really big snowball and hurls it straight at your chest, and it hits with some goddamn force. It's like,
So she hits me once and then with the big one, or just the big one?
I mean, it's still a snowball. It's not like a huge one.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
it's a larger than average snowball.
I figured like Byron, having been narrowly missed by Remy, like turns to like smirk at him and he'll keep smirking hardest, then he gets hit like full on in the chest by this.
Definitely. And Arden will, I imagine, if he was up front leading the way, and so I imagine Elishan was probably near him. Arthas, that's the one. So Elishan has sort of turned her back to him to face everyone else who are currently hurling snowballs at her. So he's going to take the opportunity to head for a hit. Oh, amazing! It's rolling apparently. So you just like getting battered from the front, and then you just feel a crunch in the back of your head as you get hit by another one.
To Arthas, and she'll like clutch her hands to her chest and like dramatically fall into the snow as though she's dead.
And he'd probably like laugh and I don't know, like when you shovel snow on top of someone, like right in your face. But it's she'll go. We'll probably do one more round of this, I think, just because it's fun.
Oh no, I say she 2 hits. She did. She's just laughing in the snow.
Oh. All right. Very well then. Byron?
I think like he takes like a step back or two, and just like his immaculate coat is now covered in snow, as well as his crotch. I am going to. What I'm going to try and do is use mage hand on a branch above the tree she was hiding on, and just try and tip it so like all the snow comes tumbling down. That's a 15 on the dice.
She's like looking at you, and then it's just.
You're breaking up a lot.
Yeah, we're kind of losing your rub.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just describe the scene again, please.
Nope. There you go.
Nope. There you go again.
Right over here. God damn it.
Damn Skynet.
I'll reload.
All right, I'm DMing now.
We're all doomed.
Remy wins.
Remy's in charge. Booze for everyone.
What I imagined is that I just tipped a whole branch full of snow on top of her, and she just gets vumph as it all
That's what it
lands.
sounds like you did pretty good.
So Remy, you can take your go if you want.
Sure, yeah. He's gonna charge Byron. And
Charge me.
well, yeah. No, so I need to know how deep the snow is the problem. I don't want to like break your teeth.
It's like
Jesus.
waist deep on Remy.
Waist deep. Fair enough. All right, so we're gonna go with that. There's enough of a cushion there. Yeah, he's gonna make a grapple attack on Hux and try to like just shove his face down into the snow and like give him like a super like older brother like messing with you kind of moment. Even though he's probably older than you, but obviously much shorter.
Yes. More than likely older. So contested.
Or acrobatics, I think, in your case, if you want.
In my case, would be better.
Nimbly bimbly.
Nimbly bimbly. It's not great, to be honest. Do you want me to say, or do you want to go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, that's 14.
Okay, I beat you by 1. So there's a fair amount of like tussling, I would imagine, and then Byron gets a face full of snow.
Yeah, I think I'm laughing at what I did to Valor, and then you just sort of like tackle him into the ground, and he like wheels round, and then you
Triangle!
The rugby tackle around the waist.
you just get like coughing into the snow.
Eventually, Remy will get off you.
Maybe there's like a mage hand like slapping you with snow in your face, like trying to get you off.
Mm-hmm.
It's Crean next, and then Rose and Willow.
All right. So, Crean and Rose would like to do a coordinated attack on Willow.
Is that a snowball attack?
Yes. It's going to be, we're going to send Crean behind the little table, and I'm going to push Willow over.
Oh, one of those. Yeah, I know what you're doing.
Yep.
Come.
Almost, but not quite.
It's okay. We're DMing ourselves now.
All right. Replacement DM. What do I need to roll?
I'll just roll. I don't know her stats. I've rolled a number, so you just tell me and I'll tell you if you beat that number with your athletics added on because it's a grappling thing.
16.
You beat her by 1 again.
So she probably goes like tumbling over.
Yes.
And I'm like, I told you to pick your sides wisely.
You killed poorly.
Willow's revenge. Steve, do you want to roll for her? Or whoever?
Am I back? Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah, there you are.
Yeah.
We can hear you now.
Sweet. My I don't know, my shit just collapsed. But I heard the last part where I think Rose like tackled Willow or something.
So the turn we've had is Byron tips the snow on top, and that's where we lost you. And then while he's laughing doing that, Remy waist tackled him and got him to the ground, just barely beating him and rammed his face into the snow. And then Crean has knelt behind Willow, and Rose has pushed her over Crean.
Amazing.
So you can take up from there.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure what to add to that. I guess I heard you say that it was Willow's go.
Yeah.
It's Willow's revenge now.
Yeah. So I guess she sort of will just kind of roll to her feet and probably push Crean over if he's crouching, which I'm not going to make them roll for just because if someone's crouching, they pretty much can't do anything, especially if they're massively inebriated. But she's just going to, try and tackle you back, basically. She rolled an 18.
She beat me. I rolled very poorly.
Yeah, she just smacks you right back down, sort of like a proper tackle. So you both go down into the snow, and then she'll just sort of roll over onto her back, just giggling.
Still a traitor.
All right. So Arden's turn. He has a target in mind. Gonna charge forward and do the whole side leap as he tosses right at Remy's face.
John Woo.
With doves and everything else are flying in the background. Oh, natural 20.
Jesus, that's the third one. This combat.
Remy's off
Yeah.
his feet.
All 11 natural 20s on our snowball fight. That this is how we D&D.
An Icereign miracle.
Yeah, I imagine Remy just like goes straight over on his side and like falls off of Hux, who's still like flailing on the ground.
Yeah. So Arthas would probably like stand if he was not on his feet. I'm not sure what happened. But he'll go, okay, guys, we should probably keep going. Otherwise, we're not going to make it.
Remy puts the snowball right in his face.
Roll for that shit.
Arden throws a snowball at him too.
Roll for that shit.
Okay, so it's not technically an attack roll, or maybe it is. I don't know. I crit on a 19 as a champion.
Go for it. It counts.
16 on the die.
2 snowballs, him square in the fucking jaw.
And then
And
I'll
he
sweep
just-
the leg.
Yeah, he just goes down.
Jesus.
With the mood, bro.
Illegal maneuver.
And again, he's laughing, but he like,
No, seriously, guys, seriously.
yeah, he's like, all right, guys, seriously though, we should get going, otherwise we're gonna miss it. But it's still fun. So
Byron like tries to help him to wrangle them all up, but I imagine there's like Vela there looking very miffed, like covered in snow.
yeah,
And he kind of grins and then like flicker the wrist, like all the snow just like lifts off. I think from like top to bottom, it all just kind of flies off.
yeah,
And he
all
does the
his
same to
Remy.
himself.
Yeah, Elishon would similarly be doing like the prestidigitation, like cleaning the clothes and doing the warming thing. Definitely.
Arthur's
Yeah,
just like
that's well as
shakes
well.
off like a dog.
Doesn't use Druidcraft.
Nah, he's
I think this has to be the only time the Druidcraft would be useful.
Yeah, he doesn't use Druidcraft.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the walk continues. It takes 3 hours total to get there, and I imagine this kind of fracas happened maybe an hour in. So
Yeah.
You have 2 hours left of walking, which goes generally uneventfully. If there's anything else you guys would like to talk about, or if you'd like to hurl insults at each other over the snowball fight, you're more than welcome to.
I don't know.
I know Arthas will make a point of like at some point on the walk, just out of nowhere, just get revenge on Elishon by just like pushing her, off the track. But just at some point when she's like least expecting it, just right into the woods.
In the middle of a snowdrift.
Yeah, definitely.
Once the snowball fight's over, Remy will go back to just scanning the horizon and making sure everything's safe.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, make me a perception check.
Can do, Captain. 18.
With one roll, you've managed to ruin the entire game.
Huh?
So you just turn around and you're like scanning, and then you just see like movement in the tree, and you see a rustling, and you'd normally think nothing of it, but it's like the tree's moving quite a lot. So whatever was up there was quite heavy, heavier than a bird or whatever.
So I assume everyone's kind of dusting themselves off and getting ready to walk again. Remy will whip out his heavy crossbow.
Yeah.
And you say, "Eyes up!" and kind of point his crossbow in that direction and wait for more movement.
Byron was probably
And I'm taking a held action. If anything pops out of that tree, I'm going to shoot with the crossbow.
Absolutely. Nothing does. But you definitely saw that flash of movement. But for now, nothing. No, you see no more movement. And you probably wait there for like a good 5-10 minutes maybe. And just nothing comes.
What are Remy's instincts telling him right now? Was this an animal, or was it a bird? Was it something stalking him?
I imagine Remy's got a good gut feeling, and kind of his spider senses is tingling at the moment. like you're like you don't know what it could be because it was a big rustle. Something big was in that tree, but could be anything. But you don't like where this is going, sort of thing.
Something's got us in its crosshairs.
Yeah.
I imagine as you were shouting that, Byron was opening up more, and he was like, "Oh, my mother always used to make us do these dances. That's what these formal ballroom dances. That what comes with owning a theater." And he's just complaining about his Christmas traditions or something like that. And then
So you do me a favor and shut the hell up. Focus.
Yeah, and Vela probably says something super depressing. On Christmas, on Icereign, I was always just locked in my cell, which is the size of a coffin. And I wasn't fed that day because we didn't have enough food. Just something that it makes you be like, oh, yeah, okay. Dude, the mood is supposed to be cheerful. But she doesn't seem, upset or anything. She just says it as a nonchalant offhand comment. It's like, oh yeah, we never did that. We just got locked in our cell.
Seriously though, I'm sorry to get in the way of your nostalgia, but something wants to eat us.
Byron is like, oh, fine. And looks around, I guess.
Vela will say, what did you see?
I can't quite put my finger on it, but it was too big to be an owl or something that would live in the top of a tree.
And she'll start climbing a tree. Yeah, she'll definitely start climbing a tree. And being her and being a monk, she gets up a tree in seconds, and she'll be up there for a bit, but she doesn't notice anything, and eventually comes back down.
Well, eyes open then.
And Arthur will come over and say that he thinks you've probably had too much of your booze, and you're only a small thing, and you probably need to ease up, in a really patronizing voice.
Are you looking to get your ass beat? It sounds like when you talk to me, I everything in my body is telling me that I need to break one of your fingers or something. But you keep doing it, and I think you know this about me. So, do you want me to do that?
Do you want to?
I'm gonna go for his wrist and try to get him into a lock.
All right. Make a grapple check. Oh shit.
I don't know why this guy needs to antagonize me, man.
He's more being playful, but I imagine it's just lost on Remy.
17.
Yeah, you beat him.
So I'm not going to break his fingers or anything, but I am going to put him in a judo wrist lock and just kind of pin him to the ground. And I'm going to keep talking to everybody while he's pinned.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he'll say
super nothing, 2 seconds, got him by the wrist and by the elbow and throw him down. I don't even lose my center of gravity.
You are intent on ruining all my secrets. So you grab his wrist, right? And you beat him. You can tell that you've got the upper hand. And then you feel like this sudden burst of strength in his arm, and he wrenches it back. And you look at his face, and his eyes are bright yellow just for a second. And these veins will pop up in his neck and along his arm. And you see his fingers curl in sort of almost like a wince. And he does this really kind of sort of deep growl, and he pulls it away and then sort of realizes what just happened. And I doubt anyone else would notice this, but you being so close would notice this slight change, the kind of physiological change that I just described. And he'll sort of give you a sort of dark look for a second, and he's kind of panting. And then we'll sort of revert back to his chuckly, smiley self and laugh and just say, kind of clap you on the back and say, "You're stronger than you look, little one," and get up and start walking again.
Remy doesn't say anything. He keeps his eye in the corner where the movement was, and he starts walking solemnly now.
Yeah. Awesome. So, apart from that, if anyone else has anything they'd like to do or say on the journey, you're more than welcome to now. Otherwise, we will skip ahead to your arrival.
I think at this point, Rose would probably give Willow the charm that she made.
Yeah, and I imagine sort of you guys are like maybe a bit sort of further back when you do. And she takes it and sort of looks at it for a second. And she'll ask you what the runes mean. And then like wears it and puts it out front of her garments, sort of displaying it. And we'll kind of she's very grateful. She's not, never had gifts or any of that depressing stuff, but it's definitely like wasn't expecting anything, and is kind of looking a little bit kind of bashful and awkward that she didn't get you anything. But for the most part, she's just really grateful and happy.
So if we're gonna be walking, how many more hours during the day until we get there?
From straight after the snowball fight, it's 2 hours more.
2 hours more.
Do we do any, extra walking before the wrist lock scene, or like are we like 2/3 there in the way or something? Yeah.
We did some because he pushed you into the snowbank and stuff.
Yeah.
It might be like an hour away or an hour and a half.
Yeah. So the timings on this walk of when all this shit is happening is completely fucking whatever. I'm kind of just hand waving it all.
Hour left.
So hold on, I'd like to, while we're walking, if I can find a time when Hux is out of earshot of Arthas is the druid, right?
Yeah.
Who gave me the freaky face? I'd like to fill Hux in on that and tell him, like, this guy, he gave me a look. His face changed. It smelled like chaos magic to me. But it wasn't good.
I think like Byron and Vela are mostly near the back, so really any time you could come and say that after that. But Byron will look concerned.
And I'm already looking for an excuse to stab this guy. You know that, right? You can. I hope at least you can sense that.
I was going to step in for a second, but you didn't break his finger, so that's Icereign charitableness, I'm sure.
How lovely.
So he asks a few more questions about his transformation. Does Byron think it's lycanthropy? Is he aware of that, or does he think it's chaos?
Make me check.
I shall do so.
I'll give you nature or arcana.
The arcana would be better. The nature is 21, and the arcana is like 24, 5 or something.
Yeah. Sounds like it definitely could be lycanthropy. You wouldn't rule it out. You know that in my world, like lycanthropes aren't just like a moon, full moon type thing. It's like if they get, overly excited or lose control, or perhaps, a werewolf who drinks, or a were-whatever who drinks, may have less control over his or her lycanthropic powers. So you definitely could, it could be a lycanthrope, and the evidence seems to suggest that that's a very likely outcome. Plus, he lives in a weird kooky tribe in the woods. So.
Yeah, I don't think it's out of... I'm not sure if he's directly read it yet, but I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility that... I
Are werewolves necessarily evil in this world?
Not at all. I mean, you probably get told stories of werewolves eating children and all that sort of thing.
Sure.
But whether or not you would know that they're,
Like,
you know,
the person infected could be nice, but yeah,
yeah. But
probably
you know,
don't want to mess with the big guy.
yeah, like you know, I mean, Byron would probably know because he's the font of all fucking knowledge. You know, if a werewolf loses control completely, or a werebear or whatever, you know,
Become feral.
be driven to
Yeah.
you know, they could be driven to violence against people they wouldn't necessarily want to be violent towards.
Gotcha.
But
yeah. Hmm.
it's more of a, it's less of a sort of hideous curse thing.
Unfortunate
and-
infliction.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, you know, enjoy having the power. I sort of see it as more of like the Skyrim beast blood type thing in this.
So yeah,
But then again, so but then again, you know, he has been drinking, so he has less restraint.
yeah.
I was also going to point out that, you know, if Elishan can sense if someone has chaos in them, she's probably by this point confirmed everybody else is clean.
Yeah, he's completely clean as well. He only had 2 points, so
Okay.
they were gone when Durokai was killed.
I was actually about to incorporate that into the scene.
Never
I
mind.
was going to have.
Sorry.
Byron says that actually, those symptoms sound strangely like lycanthropy. I wouldn't say it, I wouldn't put it
Like a
past.
what?
Werewolf, werebear,
Oh.
were creature, and I think he's your moonshine has done something towards his self-control, and he's perhaps a little more wild than usual.
Uh-huh. So if we keep fighting, he might turn into a dog.
If we're lucky, if we aren't a very large dog, maybe keep an eye on him and try not to antagonize him too much until we get to his tribe.
Well, that sounds like a little bit of fun, if I'm being honest. And
he's the only one who knows
if
where
he
we're
calls me
going.
little, that's true. But if he calls me little one more time, I don't think I will be able to contain myself.
I shall bear that in mind, and I shall tell him not to. Just keep an eye on him. And he kind of, while Remy's still there, he turns to Vela and goes, "If you don't mind me saying, you look like you are feeling a little better, glowing a little more. I'm not sure of the right term. Are you less corrupt?"
You saying Renew's pregnant?
To Vela.
Remy ain't pretty.
Yeah, she would say, well, I think when we killed whatever that thing was, it sort of felt like a knot that been in my stomach my whole life has been removed or lessened at least, and
I thought so.
I feel much better.
I thought you and Kreen and Elishan, and I presume Arthur's as well, actually, are looking slightly like a weight has been lifted from your soul, however that looks. So hopefully,
She just nods.
Arthur's as clean, Remy, or cleaner.
Don't smell clean.
No, I was meant.
Now that you mention it, he smells like a wet dog.
Why do you think I'm back here?
All right. I'll try to leave him alone, as long as he leaves me alone.
I will have a word with him. And he kind of like puts a hand to your shoulder and kind of quickens his pace and goes and talks to Arthur's.
Sure.
I was actually going to say that whenever Remy went back to talk to Byron, that Elishan would have been having a conversation with Arthur, being like, yeah, he's sensitive about his height, you know.
Well, I mean, I was just poking fun, but well, I thought he was just being boisterous and sort of wrestling. But when he grabbed my wrist, I think I got the impression that he maybe isn't finding it funny. So I might have to try a different technique with him.
It's like a thing. He, you call him little, and it's like his fist just kind of clenches, and then it just goes straight for your face. It's like a magnet. So it's not really something he can control.
And
this is a face magnet. Is that what you're saying?
And he'll sort of lean in like closer to you and say, kind of in a lowered voice, like, you would think though that a race of little people would have got used to being little, but it doesn't seem like he has, at least. But he'll say that like really quietly and conspiratorially.
Well, it's a very tall-centric way of thinking about the world.
I think it's more of a kind of thing where when you're little, you are. You don't need to be constantly reminded of it. I mean, I know I have pointed ears, but I don't need someone calling me knife ears or, bunny ears for, me to, remember that I'm a half elf. So
I've literally never heard anyone ever say that. Just
you
FYI.
Might have nicer people in these parts.
Probably right.
Not if this jerk is any indication.
I kind of agree with Remy.
You guys are like the disapproving father.
Okay.
And so I think from there on, if anyone else has anything, they may speak now, or we'll just get
hold our peace.
Yeah.
We don't have to roleplay it out, but basically Byron just like comes up and I know they're in a conversation, but like Byron would come up and just maybe you mess with someone else for a little while, and then we all get there in safety.
That's what I was telling him, Byron.
Well, better two of us do than one.
No, listen, dude. Remy will kill you.
And Byron just says it very matter-of-factly, like to him it's not like a threat, and like he's just being Byron. He just is very straight to the point.
Yeah, I think that would come across as well.
But listen, I'm sure you're attached to your knees, so like you're heavily attached to them. Maybe you should stop.
Byron kind of like looks up at him and gives that, I don't know, Byron almost empty, polite, just etiquette smile, and just kind of taps him politely on the shoulder, and then goes back, like very gentlemanly.
Yeah, and Arthas will tend to Alishan and be like, "Man, I really thought he was in on the joke." But there you go, I guess. But it seems completely unfazed. Like growing up in a sort of tribal situation is kind of, he's not really got any shame or any sort of, his social, I don't know, his kind of, the way he works, the way his mind works is sort of different. So I imagine he kind of, like, if someone tells him something that, maybe an English person would be mortified at, he wouldn't really give a shit.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a sense of humor. You just try a different tact, I guess.
Right.
He doesn't like to be the butt of the jokes.
Got it.
It's just specific subjects.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Don't talk about a sister. Don't joke about a height. Other than that, you're fine.
Yeah, I can almost imagine how, like, at a moment it would be, he's like, right, think of something else to laugh about it. So, you got any sisters? And no,
Don't you talk about my sister!
I think you would avoid Remy for a little while. At least just for now, until everyone's got a bit more booze in them. But yeah, so with that, I imagine as we're sort of heading towards, you're sort of heading down this path, and you start to hear sounds of sort of movement and merriment up ahead. And sort of as you get closer and closer, you can see sort of figures moving ahead in the trees, and you come into this this clearing, and it's huge. And you see that it is ringed by all these massive trees, and they have like ropes hanging off them, and tents and hammocks, and it just looks like there's basically a temporary city being built all around these trees. And then in the center are just these like really low tables of food that are just like laid out in lines like Hogwarts, but there's no seats. But they're at a height where if you sat on the ground, then you would, they'd be at the right height for you. And there's just so much food. Things you notice are like pickled oxen, dried turnip, poached grouse, dried chicken, pickled sausage, sharp cheeses, roasted eels and fish, nutmeg, lime pie, duck, date pie, wine. You see venison, coriander, trout, cranberry tart, boiled partridge, beetroot, chestnut bread, like all these just amazing, enormous feasts laid out before you.
Everyone's throw a party, huh?
And yeah, it's huge. It could feed hundreds and hundreds of people. And you see that just more food is being brought in from the forest constantly. You also see that there are hundreds of people in attendance with just, various kind of like creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some of the notable things you see are this huge tree, kind of like, Treebeard, walking around and laughing a lot. And there's this like huge kind of deep booming kind of laugh that he has. You see a few kobolds running around, 2 goblins, and then there's about 5 or 6 hobgoblins who are all sort of laughing and joking with this group of women that they're sort of chatting to. You also see that there is one troll that is sitting snoring, and you see a load of children, one of which is clearly a drow child, playing with the other children, 2 elves and 2 humans, and they have like an ember from the fire, and they're drawing and writing on the leg of the sleeping troll who's just snoring really loudly. You see dwarves, elves, humans, people of all races, and they're all wearing sort of variations on those green kind of natural patterned robes that Arthas wears. You see that also in the trees are strung these like kind of silver sashes, and there is sort of seems to be this kind of twinkling layer of sort of snow that falls but never touches the ground. But kind of as you look up, you see that there's just this beautiful flurry of snow, and there are these sort of glowing sort of floating lights. They're just like orbs of light, like wisps that float around, kind of like almost like a fairy fire or dancing light spell sort of thing, but they're just all over the place floating. It's sort of got this kind of trumped up enormous Santa's grotto feel, with just the snow kind of flattened down, and that it's not like muddy. Somehow the snow is all still beautifully pristine white.
Rob,
but,
can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, you may.
So first of all, are you done with your visual description, more or less?
Yes.
Okay. So when Remy sees hobgoblins, trolls, goblins, it's from my context. I want to understand: has Remy ever met a troll that wasn't a horrible pain in the ass and evil? Right?
Definitely
definitely not. Right? Like to see these, demi-human races around here, like, is definitely off-putting.
Yeah, like a lot of the creatures and people you see around, like the troll and the goblins, they're kill on sight.
Right.
Drive for the most part as well. So this is a strange experience. And Arthas would kind of, before you arrive, he'll turn around and he'll say, "Look, our tribe has and accepts anyone, and everyone here is someone who has joined our tribe and undertaken the oaths, and they are family. And no matter what you might think about the creatures and the people as a generalization that you'll see here, they are friends and they are our family. And you'll find that a lot of these people are not, they're not the average stereotypical versions of their tribe, or of their races. Just as sort of, he'll definitely give you a primer, because he knows that often outsiders like see a troll and be like, oh god, shit. And you're seeing these kids like tickling it and drawing on it, on this fucking sleeping troll, which you would expect to just wake up and crush them.
So Remy, before we get there, is prepared to see goblins running around.
Yeah. Yeah, you would be briefed anyway.
And I think whenever, like, Arthas gave, like, his little brief, and he's like, you'll find that they're not, like, the stereotypical blah, 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 blah. She would just kind of, like, brighten and smile and say, so they're like our Kreen, and, like, kind of give Kreen, like, a big
and
grin.
He's just, like, hanging off Byron's coat, sort of, like, swaying, and just says, Kreen is, yeah. And that's all he says.
Oh, buddy.
Well, I'll have you know that I don't eat with goblins, and I sure as hell don't drink with them. You tell them to stay the hell away from me unless they want a sword in the eye.
And that's all Remy will say on the subject.
And he won't respond at all to you. He'll basically, you can tell that he, notes what you said, but he won't respond. And he'll sort of turn around and enter the clearing, and then you see the long description that I gave. You see sort of a woman. She's a human, and she is sort of older, probably mid to late 50s. And she just kind of puts down something on the table nearest you and turns around and sees you, and sort of bounds up towards you and just embraces Arthas in a hug. And she'll say, oh, it's been too long, Arthas. What took you so long to get here? And, he'll explain about the snowball fight, and he'll explain that he'll explain very quietly that certain members of the group have smaller legs, but he'll definitely do that out of earshot. But he'll sort of turn around and introduce everyone to his mother, or who he calls his mother. Her name is Layla. And he'll say, Mother, this is the people who saved me. And she'll sort of look around, and she'll see Elishan, and she'll like jump in and give you a massive bear hug.
Oh, okay.
Like no boundaries, just proper squeeze. And she'll just kind of let go and sort of hold your face and just look into your eyes and say, thank you. And then sort of stare at you for a second, and then do what everyone does to Elishan and turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
but not straight away. She'll sort of like turn and kind of walk with you into the clearing, and just sort of chatting away to Arthas about business, and about, what's been happening while he's been away, and how setting up the event went and all that sort of thing. Dylan, sorry, you just missed Arthas's mum came up and sort of hugged him and said hello and everything, and then she hugged Elishan as well, sort of foregoing all boundaries. and she's just an older human woman called Layla.
Layla,
In the chat.
just like the song.
Right.
Exactly. Just starts playing as you enter. Yeah, but they say, well, the feast won't be starting for another hour or so. So you're welcome to feel free to mingle. If anyone wants to give us a hand, you're more than welcome to, though. Not expected to. You are guests after all. But you may do as you please.
Remy
so
will hand her a bottle of moonshine and say, "For the party."
And she'll sort of take it and say, oh, most gracious small one. And
That'll put some hair on your tits.
And she would not be stunned by that. She would very much in the same way as Arthur would clap you on the back and sort of say to him, I like this one. And she'll kind of go and sort of put that into onto one of the tables.
Mm-hmm.
Notable things.
He hears her call him little, but he lets it roll off his back with her.
Fair enough. But you see a couple sort of notable events taking place. There's people bringing food from the forest, it looks like, but it's like prepared food, which is kind of strange, and laying it on the tables. You see the children drawing on the troll. You also see a kind of bonfire kind of off to one side, and it looks like people are throwing sticks in it. But every now and then, there's a sort of celebration as someone, you're not really sure what's happening, but every now and then, a cheer rises up as maybe 5 or 6 people are throwing sticks into this fire, but they seem to be taking it in turns. But apart from that, there's just hundreds of people drinking, sitting, eating, carrying food, just generally being at a party. So you're welcome to explore and talk to anyone you wish. There's a whole host of crazy, colorful people around.
So just so I understand the scene perfectly, we're in a tent basically, so it's open air?
It is open air. You're in a clearing, but there is like tents and hammocks and stuff hanging from the trees around.
Gotcha. Okay. Remy is going to sort of only go between the entrance and wherever the alcohol is, and he's going to get alcohol, go back to the entrance, and post and scan the horizon for anything that wants to eat him. He's still sure that they're being stalked.
Fair enough.
But he's going to be just drinking and sitting with his crossbow.
Yeah. So there all the tables have booze, but there is sort of one table that's sort of this small round table that has a load of booze on it. So I imagine that's probably where you'd head. It's pretty near the entrance. So if you're just kind of sitting there drinking, eventually,
just glowering at people as they walk in.
Yeah. Eventually, at one point, this huge orc, and he's definitely full-blooded orc, will walk up to you, and this dude only wears a sort of fur kilt and nothing else. And obviously, this being D&D, the dude is fucking ripped. And he's not got any weapons or anything on him, but he just walks up and sits next to you. And he'll just sort of not say anything for a little while. And if you don't say anything, he'll just sit there. And then eventually he'll sort of turn to you.
How close is he sitting to me?
Like a foot away. Like he's sitting next to you.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically.
Well, as soon as he sits down, I say, "What the hell do you want?"
And he'll just turn and say, "Peace and quiet."
Okay.
And he'll probably sit there for maybe half an hour just not saying anything. And then we'll just kind of say, I hate Icereign.
I mean, I didn't really register their holiday until recently, but it's a good excuse to drink as any.
And he'll nod and say, I guess you're right. And we'll produce a bottle. And it's weird. It's kind of like it's glass bottle, which how druids get their hands on glass, you'll never know. But inside the liquid is bright red, and he'll pop the cork, take a swig, and you see him kind of shudder, and he'll offer you some.
Something like, if that makes a man like you shudder, probably pretty good, huh? Looks like wine, though. I don't do wine. It's 40 proof and above, or 80 proof and above for me.
This ain't wine.
All right, then. Pass it over this way. Here, try some of this. This is Hoochmonger Moonshine from the hills of someplace I haven't thought of the name yet.
So he'll have a sip of that, and we'll remark at how smooth it is. And we'll sort of...
Halfling Hillbilly secret recipe.
And we'll basically say the equivalent of that's good shit. And there's... Well, I normally find that outsiders are lacking in the alcohol department, but you seem to be proving me wrong. And if you try the red bottle you were given,
I do.
I'll need a Constitution saving throw.
I have resistance to poison. Does that help me at all?
I'll give you advantage.
All right. What a generous deity you are. With advantage, I got 14 on the die. I think that puts me at 21.
Cool. So you just feel, it's like when you drink whiskey or rum or a spirit, the warm kind of burning feeling. It's like that, except it's also spicy and does have a sort of cinnamon flavor to it. But you can feel like it's definitely got like a kick to it. That's not just about the taste. Like there's
that's
something tough and so
gonna wreck you.
Yeah, and it definitely makes you shudder like he did. But you imagine that were someone like Kreen or Elishan, someone of softer constitution, that would probably ruin their whole goddamn week.
I say, well, my.
And without thinking, he shouts out to Rose,
Rose! You gotta try this!
assuming that the dwarf can keep up with him.
That's a fair bet.
Am I able to hear?
Yeah, definitely.
I wander over there.
Remy's pretty deep into his cups at this point.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, you gotta drink this. This is, I mean, an orc druid made it, so already it's probably pretty impressive. Hey, drink it.
Take a drink.
Constitution saving throw with advantage as well, please.
17.
Yep, you two feel the kick and feel the sort of potentially explosive nature of it. But you're absolutely fine. You do kind of shudder, but I don't know. Rose would probably enjoy it, and it definitely warms you up. And there's no chance you could ever be cold again. You think your hands and feet also go a little bit numb. I mean, this is kind of like the equivalent of like drinking straight petrol. Like, probably not good for you, but hey. And so this big orc would just sit there in silence, just trading back and forth drinks with Remy.
You got a name?
You'd like to say anything else.
You got a name there, pal?
He says, I do. I'm called Bark.
Bark like a dog or bark like a tree?
Pick one. Takes a swig and says, apparently I used to be called something else, but everyone who knows that apparently has forgotten it, so... To be honest, they just call me whatever they feel like calling me.
Well, I will call you very good at making whatever the fuck this is.
That's a really long name.
He'll clink, drinks and take a massive pull. So what is Byron doing?
I think Byron's usually a little. Well, he would be concerned or overprotective of Vela introducing her into society, knowing their usual thoughts. But having seen Drow children run around, like he'll be much more relaxed, and she can wander off if she
Yeah.
wishes. But
And she just looks like, you know, her jaw's just dropped and she's smiling and just looking at all the happy people. Like this is the greatest collection of happiness that she's ever seen in like one go. So she is just kind of so happy and is just wandering around, not really knowing what to do.
I think Byron is kind of, I imagine, like almost with his arms, you know, like tucked in the nook of his back or something, just walking up and down the tables, and the mage hand is just like plucking things out of the bowls or whatever, and he kind of like looks them over, identifies them or doesn't. I'm not sure how. Like you listed a
It's
lot.
it's about 50-50.
About 50-50, and then he kind of just pops it into his mouth, and he's kind of just tasting his way down the table.
So as you're going, you kind of get the sense that there's like a presence following you, and you turn around and you see 4 tiny children, 1 drow, 2 elves, and a human, and they are just staring at you as this mage hand is kind of floating about, and they're just blown away.
So I don't know, maybe Vela notices or something and like taps him on the shoulder and gets him to turn around. He kind of still with his arms crossed and probably still holding something in the mage hand in the air. He kind of like raises an eyebrow to them. Hello, children.
What animal is that? And they're looking at your mage hand.
It is no animal. It is a figment of my imagination. And he kind of like pops the food into his mouth and then like brings the hand down to like shake their hand, the mage hand.
And like one of them will tentatively like reach out and touch it really slowly. And then when nothing happens, they'll all like grab onto it and just start like shaking it. You know, they're saying things like, wow, it's real, but it's not real and stuff.
I am a master of just that. And he like opens his palm. He's like, so the hand comes around from the back and he sort of bends over a little bit and he opens his palm and there is like a tiny version of, say, I don't know, one of them is a girl and
yeah, the drow's a girl.
The drow's a girl, and he kind of like kneels down. Well, not kneels down, bends over in front of her and opens up. And as he opens up, there's a tiny little image of her, and it's like dancing.
And there is just like squeals of joy and excitement, and like she tries to grab it, but can't, and is just blown away. And this is attracting actually a lot of attention from adults as well. And they're not like coming over, but everyone's sort of stopped who's nearby and is sort of watching this. But whether or not Byron would notice that is up to you.
No, I don't think so. I think he's intent on the children in front of him, and like the dancing, like it lifts off his palm and kind of she swings around. The dancing is probably far more formal than she's ever like. It's one of the ballroom dances that he's been taught,
right?
And maybe like, you know, like the whole Disney that like the dress comes down from nowhere, you know, and she's spinning in this beautiful little dress.
Yeah.
Of
Definitely.
like starlight or whatever, and he probably does that, and it gets like high enough that he kind of like stands up, and then he probably kind of like side looks and notices he's got a lot of attention,
and all the kids are like, make me.
He really quickly throws up like one after the other, opens his hands, and each one of them, as one is made, another one sort of fades, but they're all kind of floating up, dancing around.
And this is just like, because they've never seen anything like this. You know, that seeing a tiny man turn into like a huge like bear or whatever, standard fare, but seeing like tiny intricate dancing lights and that sort of thing is just kind of something that these guys would never have encountered before.
he kind of like so when the last one is done, he kind of like closes his hand, and they've all kind of just floated off, and he sort of like leans down again and says, "If you wish, I can do a little more of that. Perhaps if you can gather an audience."
And they all like look at each other and just run off. And like sort of the grown-ups nearby who hear you saying that all sort of move in. And they come back with their families, and there's probably a good like 40, 50 people gathered in the space of a couple of minutes as everyone sort of sees where everyone's going to.
I think he didn't realize that it happened quite so quickly, so he kind of like looks like takes a step back and then like looks towards Vela and goes, kind of not the biggest on public speaking, perhaps. He was like, "Give me 15 minutes, and I shall be ready. And join me." And he kind of like puts a finger to his lips and like looks around at like the most clear part of the clearing that just leads onto trees. And he says, "Join me there." In 15.
Okay. And so I guess we'll skip to that now, and then we'll come back to see what everyone else is doing if you want.
Okay, so
while you're in the zone.
He probably like waits on the tree line as people gather and sit, and more families come. He's not really a performer. I imagine like Vela might be there for moral support, and he's kind of pacing a little bit. He's like,
I feel like you should get Alishan involved in this.
Yeah, she is, but Vela is, but she's like hiding. She's not one for being in front of public.
I think so. He like paces backwards and forwards, and he's like, "Yes, Vela, could you fetch Alishan? I feel she could add something to this performance."
Yeah, and so Alishan, I guess, while whatever you're doing is happening, Vela will come over and tell you that Byron has requested your presence.
And you will cock an eyebrow and head over, curious.
Yeah, and you're just like, you see this throng of people surrounding him, pretty much, I guess.
Yeah. He kind of like beckons you over to the tree line, where all these people are like in a semicircle, 50 or more families or something. So, I mean, you know, like Icereign carols and festive kind of music, don't you?
Yes, I actually was going to play something here in a little while, and like she kind of like gestures to like behind her back where you might not have noticed she had packed away like one of her small violins, and so she'll like bring that out.
Right. Well, if just perhaps we could combine the performance. If you just follow my lead, perhaps, and we'll see how this goes.
All right.
And he kind of like ushers you to one side, and he like stands. I imagine they're like almost in a semicircle kind of thing at this point, and he stands sort of roughly in the center of that semicircle, and he turns to the forest and says, "My friends got me gifts this Icereign. It is how we celebrate in Galeria. This is my gift to them and my gift to you." And he like puts, because this is going to be a lot of strain, he like puts one like these two fingers to his temple and the other hand outstretched, and he casts the highest level spell he's cast so far, Hallucinatory Terrain, and 150 foot square just of the forest vanishes and becomes this snowy hill scene. And then upon that, he casts Major Image that he can shift both of them at will, and he plays out the kind of nativity. And I've got a little piece here, which is on Icereign Eve, Nicolaus, a young injured elf, was brought in by humans of an early kingdom. and it like cuts from scenes of this elf sort of injured in the snow, PG, like holding his leg or something, and a woodcutter with a little cabin like on the outskirts of some village, and all of these images are shimmering into these different things. Pick up this elf and carry him into the cabin along with the rest of his family. They tended to him and feasted to him, and on the eve of the next day, on what we now call Icereign, a family of elves, his family, arrived on these sledded carriages pulled by elk. They floated, gliding gracefully, barely above the ground. They brought gifts and affirmed the bonds of friendship between the elves and of the early kingdoms of men. And each year, and then there's like that scene of that pulling up, and I imagine people going wow and all the rest of it, and gifts being exchanged. And each year since then, Nicolaus returned, bringing gifts with him to generation after generation of humans of that family that once helped him. And like there's like a montage of people growing older and new generations of humans, and this same elf returning. And eventually the tradition spread to all the lands of men, and it was a time of unity between all. And it kind of like, I don't know, the image like zooms out, and there's family after family and scene after scene, all giving gifts, you know, like through the windows. And he's like basically using most of his spells for this grand performance, and there's scenes of the cabin and the smoke and the snow and all of these people sharing things on like a big scale, and it looks pretty impressive. And then and then like I don't know, it ends, and he kind of like his hand comes down from his forehead, and he kind of does the little rolling hand gesture and bows to the crowd.
And you know, during the whole performance, there's oohs and ahs, and you know, and then at the end, you know, everyone's clapping.
So I imagine that Remy is like fascinated and like starry eyed, like way in the back. And once it's done, he goes, yeah, screams out, and like is the first person to just way too drunkenly start clapping.
Yeah,
go
and,
Hawks! He's like
your friend Bark is also like just clapping, but it's like boom, boom, boom. You know, huge orc hands. Dude's like 8 feet tall. He's like an obscenely large orc.
Mm-hmm.
Though Remy at this point probably thinks he could beat him in an arm wrestle.
You don't often see like someone use a spell for RP like that. That was great.
Yeah, obviously inspiration there. That was way better than what we discussed earlier, Dan. So
okay,
congrats.
I worked on it a little bit. I imagine like he was combining so many spells and trying to keep them all going. Like there's sweat, even though it's cold. Like there's sweat dripping down. He takes a deep breath.
Yeah. So then, like as soon as you're finished, you know, everyone claps and the crowd eventually sort of disperses. But those 4 kids like come back up to you and ask you to do it again. And like, and you know that one of the moms
literally can't.
Yeah, one of the women comes up and says, maybe just leave him alone for a little while. I think that was hard on him. And so she sort of sends them off, and you notice that like they start playing, and like one of them's like, "Oh, I'll carry you like the woodsman," and you know they're playing out the scenes and that sort of thing, just messing around. And the woman just turns to you and says, "That was beautiful. Thank you so much for that."
I think like as the kids run off, like. And the drow girl maybe at the back, like he opens up his hand and she's there in the dress again, and he kind of like blows and it like spins off her dancing, and she like past her shoulder she runs off, and then he turns to the woman. Well, what is the point in having gifts if you can't bring some happiness to the face of people, or little ones like that? And he kind of like tucks some of his like sweat drenched hair,
Run
and
off and do
realizes, and then like flicks his fingers and like does the prestidigitation thing right in front of this woman.
Yeah, got to be perfectly presentable at all times.
Absolutely.
Um,
It was a pleasure.
And yeah, she just sort of has this kind of meek smile and runs off to make sure the kids don't, do something dangerous or whatever.
Sure.
What is Rose doing?
Probably looking after Cream.
Yeah, Cream's basically just like curled up, under a tree, and it's just kind of napping at this point. I imagine it's probably all a bit much for him, the walking and the drinking.
Probably just like drinking and just kind of like watching the crowd. And
yeah, I imagine Willow's probably just sitting with you because she doesn't really, know what to do. So she just kind of sits out the way next to you, and Cream's just kind of snoring. He's sort of curled up like a little dog, just as you sort of watch Byron's kind of fancy nativity scene. And
it was an interesting story. Had you heard it before?
And she says, I have actually. My dad used to tell it every year. Yeah. It's apparently why we give gifts on Icereign, but how don't I? Yeah. I've never seen it done like that, though.
It was interesting. I liked it.
Yeah. He's very skilled.
He's a pretty smart guy.
Yeah. She sort of says, like, gives you a knowing look and says, I've never been much one for studying and indoor pursuits. I was always out fighting. Got into trouble, Does make you wonder what you missed, though.
Studying was part of my training, but not always what I really liked. When I taught, I usually focused more on making sure my students knew the martial aspects.
Yeah, fighting's really only been the only thing I've ever been good at. So, I thought, why not get paid to do it? But it's nice having new people around the keep. Other guards so finally I'm not the lowest one. She kind of chuckles.
Yeah, we do always tend to prank the people, low men on the totem pole, I guess.
She smiles and says, well, Bazrag's never more at home than when he's training up some new recruits. I imagine they're probably having the hardest Icereign of their lives right now.
We're paying them well. I hope he's at least being a little easy on them.
He won't be. She kind of chuckles.
Good.
What's Elishan doing?
Well, after providing musical accompaniment for Byron's nativity, I think Elishan would continue playing. Just kind
on
of
a concert.
Yeah, just kind of continue, like, playing like some Icereign carols and all of this other stuff. And she would kind of like a few minutes or like maybe a half hour after like the nativity, because you want to let people come down after someone puts on a presentation like that. She would kind of do her own illusionary scene. A little bit different. If you had an audience, I don't know if anybody stayed to.
Yeah, definitely.
Listen.
And like a lot of people would sort of hum along to what you're playing as well, kind of absent-mindedly. They're quite a vocal people, so.
Yeah, whenever she gets to like her main piece, she would kind of stand quietly and center herself with like, you know, a low, slow draw, and slowly kind of awakening the clearing a bit more with like her music as she's like closing her eyes to concentrate and to pull her magic into the music for the first time tonight. And as always, as she plays, like her music usually enhances the music in some way. It usually echoes an accompaniment, an instrument from nowhere, but chasing kind of like her own playing in to make like a cascade of melodies. But this time she decides to craft an illusion to serve as a companion to her music. And it just kind of starts as a simple snowfall at a bright and possibly large flakes that, you know, the way that we draw them as opposed to how they're seen, kind of just filtering down from the treetops to dance along with the shafts of lights coming down from the branches and leaving trails of ice and frost in the air as though like they're freezing, and they just kind of are joined by more and more of its fellows. And as the song plays, the music and the images of the snow grow until like Elishon is like surrounded by like a swirling cascade of glittering snow, as like she's like in the center of a snow globe. And when the music swells at the last and the journey has ended, the illusion of the snow melts away as she, alas, opens her eyes.
And sees no one's watching.
Yep, probably.
No, like, I guess it's like after Byron's thing, everyone sort of starts walking away, and then they realize the music continues, so they all turn around and then see this display, and so everyone kind of comes and sits back down. And yeah, you're definitely getting inspiration as well. That was awesome. As this like just crazy display that these people have never seen, you know, the likes of before, takes place right in front of them, and they're all just blown away. And you know, there's kind of this stunned silence once the music finishes for just a second, and then it just like erupts back into applause.
I think during that, like, I presume like at some point between you starting your new show, like Byron would thank you for the accompaniment, because like there was like he can actually do sounds as part of his stuff, but he was doing like the conversation or whatever the words said, and you had like the sound effects or whatever, and you were doing the overarching music. So he would thank you, and then he would probably like be there at the front of the audience. He wouldn't go too far before you start playing. He would sit there and he would like, because that spells up for 24 hours, so I can just change the background to match what you were doing. Just natural things, but he can, you know, make it look more snowy out there or whatever, whatever you wanted if you asked him for a background. But until it becomes a problem of people walking into trees because they can't see him, he's going to play, like, because he has never used that level of magic before, so he's going to play around by shifting that where appropriate.
Awesome.
Yeah, like I think she probably would have, like, I had something planned, but it's not going to be anywhere near as nice as that now. And then, like, you know, she would kind of like be kind of self-conscious about it. And then if Byron would offer, she'd like kind of like wouldn't be so nervous about following up the hallucinatory terrain illusions. Yeah, the hallucinatory terrain laser light show.
So after
should have been the opening act for Stomp and said she had to follow it.
After your performance, Arthas will come up to you and say, I've never heard music like that. It was incredible. Well, we only really get drums and flutes and singing, but
This the violin is horribly complicated. Very, I guess, not a practical instrument for this environment, but well, it's what I'm best at, so I wanted to do something nice.
And he'll sort of chuckle and say, mind if I try?
Oh, sure. Just, you know, be careful with the bow. The strings are delicate, and she'll like try to show him how to use it.
Yeah, takes it. Which is awful. And he like stops after a second, just goes, maybe it's not for me. And gives it back. And he says, but I'd love to hear you play some more.
Oh, well, and she would kind of blush but anytime.
And I'd say, well, after that, I think you need a drink. Here, I've got something you should try. And we'll sort of walk you over to the drinks table and pick up a conspicuously red bottle. And he'll have a swig.
Uh-oh.
Shudder a little bit. Now warms you up. Offers it to you. And Remy, your seat, where you're sitting with Bark, and you'd be able to see this happening.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to say something, you'd be able to.
Remy like raises his finger, be like and then goes, no.
Yeah, Remy is just as much an enabler as Arthas would be, I think. He would think it's funny. And Elishan is horrible about peer pressure drinking, so she would definitely take a swig.
Remy's weighing like whether he would rather like watch Elishan get crazy drunk, or like whether that's worth it compared to like having to hold her hair out of her face while she vomits, you know?
Yeah, comedy value or so con save, please, Al.
Ha 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 ha. That's a 15 on the dice, plus 2 for 17.
So you swig it down. You again feel that kind of powerful, fiery feeling, shudder, and but you're fine. And he looks at you. His jaw is just wide, and he's like, to drink that and not have any sort of reaction, really took me my entire life up to now of drinking that stuff.
I have an older brother, and I live with a guy whose last name is Hoochmonger. It's good stuff, though.
Wow. Yeah. I guess. And he's just like blown away because he thought he was going to have a really funny show of you just basically being slaughtered by this drink. But there you go.
She totally does put it down, and it's kind of like,
yeah.
Like as soon as he can't, he like turns away.
Yeah.
It's just
It's amazing. So Remy, are you just still sitting with Bark and shooting the shit?
Yeah, so at a certain point, Remy, like he's Remy can get pretty drunk and still be able to function.
Definitely.
I'm
not going to do any like con rolls or anything for you. You can just role play how drunk Remy gets at any point.
So at this point, like he's still watching the horizon for something to like come out and kill everybody, right, with his crossbow. But he's talking to Bark, and at this point, he's like gotten really like saccharinely sweet. You know, he's talking about like how much he loves his friends. Like, I got the best friends. You know, like they're all so cool. Like, did you see what they did? They made the hills into something else. That's pretty cool. And I mean, Arthas, you know, I don't like humans. They are tall and rude and ugly. But I like Arthas. He's a good guy. You know, Arden. Yeah, there's too many AR names in my life right now. I'm sorry. Yeah.
My bad.
And you know, like Rose. Rose is just so good. So good. So good.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, well, you know, and you know, I don't like humans. Like I said, tall, smelly, ugly. But I like Hux. That's the best friend. Don't tell him I said that, though, because I'll fucking kill you.
And Bark is also very drunk. And so he, like, every time you say something, he just nods and goes, But he doesn't say anything. He just, like, doesn't matter what you say, but he's just nodding and mumbling his agreement.
I mean, you're a very good listener, and I like that about you.
Mm.
Yeah, well.
Anyway,
So at some point,
Can
Arthur's. Oh yeah.
I was just going to ask, since people who are chaos touched have that Highlander spidey sense,
Mm-hmm.
I think at some point Elishon would kind of give the people here kind of a once over to see how many people are affected and how badly.
You can see that pretty much like 2/3 of the people here have at least some kind of chaos sitting in them. Not necessarily a lot. Like most of them only have 1 point, but it's there.
I think at
don't tell Remy.
I think at some point she would kind of like ask Arthas about the Icereign and like the Marin's gift and what have you.
Yeah, so that's actually what I was about to bring up.
Oh, cool.
No worries. So he says, yeah.
The video.
So he'll say, yeah. Well, as long as we harvest it at some point today, we can do it. But it depends when you want to get it. I'm not sure how much we'll be able to get, but I'm sure we'll be able to get enough to cure a good number of people. But we can go now if you want.
And before the feast, is that rude?
The feast won't be for another few hours. We have time, but we have to get Crit's blessing first. It's sort of a ritual. We don't have many traditions, but that's one of them.
Who's blessing?
Is that a person?
Crit.
Crip.
And he just points to the massive tree, who is like the tree man, tree beard kind of guy. And he is like basically juggling the children that were like watching Byron's illusions. He's sort of like throwing them around and catching them and playing with them. And like you see it like a mother just like watching like, okay, oh, like worried below, but sort of not too worried, but like she can tell that Krith is sort of they'll be safe, but still her maternal instincts are a bit like, be careful. But yeah, so he's just kind of sitting somewhere playing with the children. Arthas will say, we'll need to get his blessing first. Otherwise, it's this whole thing.
I understand. Traditions and all that. I suppose I could see if the others are ready or if they want to wait a little bit. And
sure.
Elishon will look around and see what everyone else is doing.
And he'll say like, I think the sooner we go, the better, because Icereign has a tendency for people to get pretty drunk. So
yeah, I just that she coughs, like still feeling a little bit of that of the red stuff, and
you'll be feeling that for a while.
It'll be good to get the business stuff taken care of first, and then we can focus on having fun.
Sure. So you can go around and you find, I imagine everyone's sort of, there comes a point where everyone's not really doing anything, and you can sort of assemble the group. So they'll and he'll sort of go find his mother as well and sort of talk to her. And then he'll come back to you. And I imagine you're all sort of together and say, yeah. So what we need to do is ask for Crit's blessing before we go. It's more of a formality, but we still have to do it. And also, my my mother would like to come, mainly because just for safety.
Can I insight?
Is that all right? Yep, sure.
Oh, natural 20.
Oh, damn. He might be hiding something.
No.
Yeah, he's definitely kind of. You can tell he almost was like about to explain a reason, and then kind of maybe caught himself and just said for safety instead.
Is she afflicted?
Do you say that to him?
No,
Or
I'm
you're asking.
asking if my spider sense, or my chaos sense, if it tells me if his mother's afflicted.
She's not. She has not been touched by the chaos.
Hey, Rob.
Safety.
Hey, Dylan.
Real quick, could you describe his Arthas's mother to me?
Sure. She is a human woman, and he is a half elf, so she's not really his mom. She has sort of reddish hair that's starting to go grey. She looks about mid-50s. She is quite tall and quite well built. She looks strong and fit.
Okay.
And yeah, she's not unattractive.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Alishon would kind of go safety and kind of look inquiringly at him.
And he'll just say, well, you never know what you'll find out in the woods.
No, I still have that charm she made, so she'll be welcome to have along if, for safety.
Right. Great. And he'll go off and tell her. And then sort of once everyone's together, I mentioned Crean is probably still passed out, and I don't think there's any way he'll be able to come.
Little buddy.
And Vela is definitely a little bit wine drunk, but she's all right. So sort of Arthas will go and approach Krith. And you see him kind of climb him like a tree and start whispering kind of in his ear. And then climb back down, and Krith will stand and kind of walk up to your whole group. And he hasn't spoken to you before. And he'll kind of stand tall. And you can see like a lot of people kind of stop and watch. And he just says, in this really slow, like Treebeard voice, he just says, I, Krith, give you my blessing to harvest the Maran's gift. For our ancestors planted the tree, and we, their descendants, shall reap its leaves. And then, like, once he said this kind of formal piece, he says, right, well, good luck. I will see you later. And then we'll just start, like, heading back to where he was. And Arthas will kind of turn around and say, yeah, I don't get why we really still do that, but it has to happen. Anyway, shall we?
Let's shall.
Right. And he'll head you he'll head off out a path into the forest.
Is his mother coming along?
Yes.
All right. Once we all start walking, Remy's going to approach Layla and say,
So I must say,
and he wants to make sure he's within earshot of Arthas.
I have never seen a more beautiful, fiery-haired female in my life. You must be not a day over 50.
And he's thinking in halfling years because 50 is pretty young for a halfling.
Right. And she like stops and turns and looks at you and says, "Well, you are a brazen young man. You must be what, 8, 9?" And Arthur sniggers.
152 with the experience to prove it, darling.
And she says, "Oh, yeah," in like mock shock. "Wow, you look good for your age."
Well, thank you. All these scars are kind of like decoration, I think.
And she's, "Wow, you must be a brave, brave soul."
Oh, brave beyond your wildest dreams.
And he'll just chatter up,
Yeah,
the whole
definitely,
way, and
definitely. And she sort of starts off taking the mick, but I imagine she actually sort of starts kind of enjoying it a bit more, and Arthur's mood sort of begins to sour as it goes on.
Well, because Remy knows he's non-threatening to her, so he's just laying on the charm and
right, exactly, perfect. That's awesome.
I think at some point though, like Elishon might like fall back and like kind of like bend down to whisper in Remy's ear, "I hear she's single."
Well, don't tell me that. I'll get encouraged.
Amazing. And yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, she is single. Just FYI.
She's a druid. I assume she's polyamorous.
She's part of a druidic style cult. She's not a druid, although I don't know if you know that. She has a sword on her and looks. She like Arthur's is kind of a bit skinnier, but she is like muscular and looks strong.
My type of woman.
Does she look like one of the warrior cast of the?
Yeah, she's definitely a warrior.
Mm.
Yeah, were you gonna say something, Dad?
I was just gonna say that I think Byron and Vela again are near the back, but there's Milton trailing behind them with like a bowl of like candied nuts or something from the feast. Byron's just like popping them back like he is like do the whole throwing them up in the air with a mage hand kind of thing and eating them.
Yeah. Definitely.
He's feeling on top of the world. Although he would have asked someone, maybe that concerned Mother, if he could just leave the spell there and no one walk into a tree, because he has plans for that later.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't go near it. They still kind of are a little bit afraid of it because they don't really understand what's going on. You know, they're not like, they don't think it's going to hurt them, but they're like, best not to fuck with it.
It won't, apart from walking into a tree, it won't harm you, I promise.
I mean, nothing else. You can always hallucinatory terrain, the original terrain back. The
That's
people
true.
don't bumble into it.
But he liked the snow. He liked the snowy scene. Like, what is it to be an illusionist to make an illusion of the real world that is underneath the illusion? And, I mean, I have like a range of 300 feet, so if you say to that as he's leaving, it's just like, and then click his fingers and it would just go back to normal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the hardest thing to do, right? To make things that make an illusion feel as real as, reality. This time you're actually doing it. Somewhat. That doesn't make sense. I think you may have had too much to drink. Does that make sense? I'm not sure.
I think it makes sense. But yeah, so after about a half an hour walk, and actually, Remy, you'd probably be still being vigilant.
Oh yeah,
I imagine. So you can make another perception check.
Or 17.
Wait, I need to roll, don't I? Yeah. As far as you know, you see nothing.
As far as I know, I see nothing.
As far as you know, there is nothing there.
Okay.
You see nothing.
Okay.
No, the
I
DM
in fact see nothing.
did not ask you to make a perception check.
Yeah, no. Remy is definitely on guard still. Like he hasn't put down his weapon, but he has sort of like relaxed his inner
right.
his vigilance a little bit.
That's sort of how I imagined it going.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after about half an hour's walk, Arthas and Layla stop and turn and say, "Right, this is the clearing. Just inside, you'll see the tree. So there's a certain amount we'll be allowed to take. We don't know how much that is, but you'll know once we're at the limit. But don't worry, it's perfectly safe. But just be ready for that." And then they'll turn and enter. And you follow and you find that inside is this glade, and there's absolutely no snow here. And it is like deathly silent. The floor is covered in this like thick moss, and it's sort of this round glade. And you see this huge white tree, or it's a huge tree with white leaves, and it's sort of like an oak tree, like a classic kind of shape, but it kind of creates almost like a roof or a canopy sort of over the glade, with a lot of branches like hanging down low enough for you to pick from. It looks extremely old. You know, there's all these kind of knots and marks in the bark, and as you enter, you hear this sort of soft, like kind of like the sound that trees make in the wind. The sort of like ooh, almost like this mournful sort of smooth kind of song that pervades the whole scene, where just you hear this kind of low moaning from the tree as it kind of sways back and forth slowly.
Creepy.
Like Alishon would go touch the bark.
The bark is cool. It's not cold. It's not, uncomfortable, but it's this like really nice, cool feeling. The bark is quite soft as well. But as you put your hand on it, you feel this sort of almost electricity running through it. As if, there's some kind of magical essence here, and this whole room has your sort of magic sense going like crazy.
It's like, ooh, you're a special tree, aren't you?
The tree doesn't respond, in case that's what you're waiting
I didn't think it would.
Well, yes, I am. But yeah, Arthas will pick one of the leaves, and you see, nothing happens. And
Remy's not going to touch anything, but he's going to keep watch.
And his mother kind of rolls out this blanket that's been weaved, and he just places the leaf kind of in the blanket, with a view to roll it up, into a parcel once it's full. And so they'll begin picking leaves for it. And everyone else is welcome to do the same if they wish, or explore or whatever.
Remy's going to stay near the group and just keep watch, but he's not picking anything.
Very well. Byron, would you be picking anything?
Yeah, I think Byron does a once around, or 270 degrees or something, doesn't come all the way around back to the group, but just walks around it in quiet contemplation. Maybe for some of it, brushes his actual hand against the bark or a branch or something, until he finds a leaf, just any of the many that he seems to take a liking to, and pulls it.
Yeah, and you can hear that as this is going, Arthas and Layla are sort of crooning to the tree and kind of just whispering to it in some unknown language that none of you speak. and they're just speaking softly to it. Again, a little bit creepy, but there you go. And eventually there comes a point where someone picks a leaf from it, and you've got probably like 150 leaves, which is, as you'll find out later, the most that anyone can ever remember there ever being. Usually you get like 10, but obviously circumstances are unique at this moment, and the tree provides for and protects the Olfangr. And so someone picks. Oh yeah.
I was just gonna say, does the tree look like the one on our wrist at all? I'm just kind of curious.
It does not.
Okay.
Not really.
Okay.
It's kind of like got this flat, like the leaves are kind of flattened to make a sort of almost like a ceiling, this glade, whereas the tree on your wrist looks sort of more like a conventional tree shape.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you definitely see that. So yeah, once someone picks one of the leaves, at some point, like the tree kind of rustles, and there's a louder groan, and the branches all kind of like slowly rise up and kind of curl back round into more of like a normal tree shape, like this rounded shape, and it sort of almost recoils, and the moaning becomes kind of louder, and Arthas and his mum kind of look at each other and nod and sort of whisper these last few sentences to the tree and kind of back away, and then begin wrapping up the leaves.
Yeah, Elishon would give the tree another pat and say, "That'll do, tree."
Very well. Now, could everyone just make insight checks, please?
I think Byron takes his glasses off and cleans them and just quietly to himself goes, "Remarkable."
18 insight.
My insight was a non-natural 20.
17.
25.
God damn, you guys. All right, you all immediately see Arthas and his mother have wrapped the leaves, and sort of Arthas has kind of placed them in a sort of satchel on his belt. But they have taken these like stances. They're both on all fours and they're staring into the trees. And they both are like, their faces are kind of drawn up into a snarl. And they're like looking around in the trees like they're looking for something. And it's this really weird thing where they're both kind of like, as if they're like dogs about to chase down their prey.
I'm going to try to track their vision, see if I can spot movement in the trees.
Yeah. Make a perception check. Although I will say that they are looking for something, but don't necessarily see anything themselves.
Sure. It doesn't matter anyway. I rolled a 6.
You see nothing.
Do I get the impression this is what, Arthas was trying to warn but didn't warn about earlier?
I mean,
like he knew something like this might happen. Do I get that impression?
I mean, retroactively, you sort of think back and he definitely was hiding something, and then for this to happen, which is sort of weird and something you've never seen before, yes, you might have that impression.
They were definitely prepared for this.
Mm-hmm.
And so Elishon will kind of call out to them and be like, "What are we looking for?"
They don't respond for a second. And then Arthas kind of shakes his head and turns and says, sometimes when parties have gone out before to collect Marin's gift, well, there's creatures that sometimes ambush trying to take the gift for themselves. Yeah, we can smell them. And then he'll just pause for a second and just say, we call them splinterback beasts. Keeps looking around.
Don't suppose splinterback beast sounds familiar at all.
It does not.
Okay.
What would y'all like to do?
Should we lead them from the tree, or would they not step upon its grounds?
Well, they'll step upon its grounds, but it's better to fight in an area where you can see. And they seem like only half listening to you, almost at this point.
I think that at this point, Elishan would kind of reach into like her little pouch or whatever, where she like keeps all of her gimmicks, and will pull out 2 of like the little lake stones that she got, and then cast the Hussenjin's Night Eyes.
Oh, okay. Perfect. So this basically gives you X-ray vision. And you sort of look around and you don't see anything for a second. Then you spot in the darkness of the trees 2 glowing shapes kind of slowly picking their way towards the glade. There's sort of like these huge kind of creatures with kind of barrel-shaped bodies and really long front legs or arms kind of thing, which slowly kind of grab branches and crawl forward. And their legs are kind of coiled back. And they're sort of crawling through the canopy of the forest. Like, you don't get like a perfect view of them with that spell, but you do kind of see that they're almost like a humanoid shape, but not really. I mean, the best way I can describe them to you players is they're sort of like quaggots, where they're kind of like elongated front legs and sort of strong, powerful hind legs. And then moving towards it. Yeah, sorry, Dylan, what you missed was Arden basically said that sometimes there's creatures that come and try and steal the leaves that you harvested.
Sounds like there might have been use for that information before we came.
But Elishan will have cast her spell and, like, with eyes purple and black, spotted the creatures and will point them out to everyone and be like, up there in the boughs.
Yeah.
But they can see
and they can't see them yet because they're kind of far away. But you see Layla. She begins breathing like fast, heavy breaths. And you see her form kind of contort, her shoulders kind of rolling, and her arms elongate. Her face kind of begins to change. Yes.
Oh, when she starts panting, Remy's gonna be like,
Slow down there, honey. It ain't bedtime yet.
and then like her arms will start growing and be like, oh my god!
And her face begins to change, and she begins to sprout white fur, and she turns into a wolf-like creature. Except that it's not a normal sort of werewolf-type creature. You can tell it's, from what you know about werewolves, she's not a wolf. She's sort of like a wolf-human type thing, the middle form. And but she isn't a wolf. She's clearly way, way bigger than a normal werewolf. She is almost like a winter wolf, but the were version. And when Layla starts doing that, it's almost like when someone throws up near you and it makes you want to throw up. Arthas appears to go through the same transformation. And before you are these two enormous kind of winter wolf, werewolf creatures, or were-winter wolf creatures, who are snarling and panting, but holding the same position. How would you react to this?
I would like to shoot at something.
Elishan pointed at where she could see the creatures. We would have pointed that out to Remy.
Can I fire a crossbow bolt in that direction?
You can, but you won't be able to see them yet because they're further back. Like they're sort of, they're not like near the what's it called? They're not like near the glade yet. They're sort of picking their way towards it.
Okay. Can I get a perception check at disadvantage to see if I can get a beat on them?
Yeah, definitely.
That's an 8, so no.
Probably not.
Then I'll just hold my action, continue until I see
Yeah,
something.
sure.
Byron like turns to Vale and goes, "Now that is not something you should expect usually." And then he like taps himself on the chest, and the mage armor goes up and around him.
About how far? Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Go. You finished.
No, you go.
How far away are the creatures right now?
They're probably about 60 feet away.
Try. Is that in range? A fairy fire.
Not yet.
Yes. Range is 60 feet.
Okay,
So-
sweet. Then yes, they are.
Gonna, pointing up at them to the others so that everyone can see them, and then realizing that no one else can see the shapes in the trees just yet, Elishan will cast, the glittering energy of fairy fire to try and outline them for her allies. Dexterity
Very
saving
well.
throws.
DC what, sorry?
15.
One succeeds, one fails. So you see kind of the light coalesce around a vague form in the shadows. And slowly begin to hear like the sort of this kind of creaking, scratching sound, and this heavy like breathing as a creature begins to sort of not appear, but you can sense that it's close. And there's this moment of kind of silence where no one says anything. And then there is just this explosion of movement as these two creatures come flying into view. They are hideous. And I'll let you take your ready to action after I've described them, Remy. They're hideous. They are almost like men, except with elongated front arms and shortened back legs. They have this deep blue skin, these terrible eyes and gaping, spiked maws of teeth. They are covered in this sort of fur, almost in the shape of kind of like a wife beater vest, where it covers kind of around their neck and their front and back, but isn't on their arms or legs. And they just screech and hiss. And I don't know if anyone has ever played the fighting fantasy choose your adventure books, but there's one of them called Creature of Havoc, which I'll put the cover in the chat, which inspired this creature. So I guess anyone who's watching as well can go look that up. But it is this hideous, snarling beast, which you can now shoot at, Remy.
One of them you'll have advantage on.
True.
So first shot is going to be a 21 to hit.
That's a hit.
Nice. 12 points of damage.
Nice.
And since heavy crossbows have the loading property, I don't get more than one shot unless I have crossbow master. Is that correct?
I believe so.
All right.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I only get one shot with the crossbow, in which case I will switch to my rapiers and use the rest of my movement. They're up in the trees.
Yeah, but they're kind of leaping down, so I will let you stab if you wish.
Yeah, that'd be good if somebody's close enough. Thank you. I'll do that. Does a 14 hit?
A 14 does not hit.
Then remove.
So you miss
I used advantage on the first roll.
It's on every attack roll.
Oh, that's right.
I fairy fired it. It's
Right. Oh, then I might hit with a 20.
You do hit with a 20.
Let's do that.
I was like, I only heard one dice roll.
You're on top of shit. I appreciate that. 14 points of damage. Second strike.
Nice.
And bonus action, I'll use my offhand weapon.
Go for it.
It's a 23.
Yeah, that's definitely a hit.
Okay. 2d4. There we go. 6. 11 points of damage.
Awesome.
With the letter opener of death.
Is that your turn then?
That's it.
So, yeah, these two things just come flying out of the forest, and Remy shoots one, runs over, and begins just cutting into it, and it's screeching this hideous, loud, terrible screech. The two werewolves hurl themselves forward in just a furious, rampaging, scratching flurry. That's what I was looking for. But first, I will take initiative rolls from everybody, please.
18.
19.
16.
That's a 3 because I rolled that one again, like I did with 5 before Dorico.
Oh.
Why doesn't everybody just play halflings? You'd never roll a natural one.
What did Remy get, sorry?
Remy's at a 16.
All right, Rose, you're up first.
Bless on Remy, Vela, and Willow.
Perfect.
Are we assuming that that Joe's character is just drunk, passed out back at the festival?
Yeah, he's dead drunk.
We're gonna rip on him for every session afterwards because he just got too drunk at the party.
Absolutely.
He was trying to hit up some of the Olfangr druid ladies, and
definitely, and he probably got
out.
He probably got the shit kicked out of him by them.
You know, or just striking out, started drinking away his sorrows.
Pretty much. So, you're casting Bless, Rose?
Yep.
Is that what you're doing?
Yep.
Parfait. Elisha.
Bum, 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 bum. I'm gonna shoot one with my crossbow. I'm gonna
Sounds
shoot the
good.
one that's glowing. It's a good thing I said that because that was a 4 in the 13 plus 5 for
18 hits.
and 6 points of damage.
Nice.
And then bonus action, I'm going to inspire Arthas.
Ooh.
Yeah, definitely. Remy.
Steady, steady.
Definitely. Give me them rolls.
So I still have advantage?
Yep.
Oh,
You haven't
man,
did it for a while. It's a great spell, that.
Yeah. Fair Fire is dope. Okay. Well, I definitely needed the advantage on Bless, that's for sure. I got an 18 to hit.
An 18 hits.
Oh, awesome. D4. 13 points of damage. The first strike.
Yep.
Second strike. God, it's so great having a cleric and a bard.
You can never miss.
Yeah, that definitely has this 22. That's like a 30 to hit.
Yeah.
14 points of damage.
Nice.
And
Yeah.
finally, with my offhand. Ooh, double 12s. 16 puts it out of 24.
Hit.
Sweet. 2d4. 13 points of damage.
13 points of damage. Yeah, you're just carving into this thing like a Icereign turkey. And it is just like screeching in pain as you just wail on it. Byron.
Did Vela not get to go before me, or Willow, or are you just doing them at the end?
Nope. Well, I just rolled for all NPCs to go at once, and they rolled also a natural one. So.
Oh, fair enough. Sure. Remy's just used. I was gonna haste if I got earlier in the whole thing. Yeah. I'm gonna Maximilians because I love using that spell.
Awesome.
So make a strength save against 15 DC.
It gets a 17.
Okay. So this fist bursts from underneath it, and it kind of scampers away or scurries to the side.
Yeah. Now these things are strong. Wait, was it a strength save? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or a dex save? Yeah. So
It's
these things are strong and muscular. So
That's
it's
fine.
more, and so it's more, I guess, of a bash than a
Sure.
dodging out the way.
Okay.
Anything else?
Nope.
Perfect. All right. So, firstly, Vela to run in and swing for her attacks. Yeah, that's 2 hits. So I need to get some d6s. Okay, so she deals 9 points of damage with those, and she gets another one. And she's hitting the one that everyone's been hitting. So I think that's another hit. Okay, for an extra 3 points. So yeah, she just kind of runs in and just begins, whacking it with her staff and punching it, and just like sort of in a furious rampage, just smashing into it. Willow unloads a shot with her crossbow into the one that is not verified for a crit. Boom. So she deals 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. She does 14 points of damage with her. Oh no, 15 points of damage. And she just fires this bolt and it just pierces the shoulder. The creature just shrieks in agony. The two werewolves begin attempting to wrestle back against these two beasts. So the beasts are much larger than the wolves, even though the wolves are huge. Okay, so Arthur succeeds in kind of getting underneath the splinterback beast that he's fighting, which is the one with the fairy fire, as it's weakened, and he like dumps it onto its back and just begins like scratching at it and biting at it. The other one, or Layla, though, is unable to knock hers back, and it pushes her to the ground, and is gonna lay into her big time. So, what does it get? Plus, okay. All 3 hit then, as she has very minimal armor. So,
do I see it knock her over and stuff and all that?
Yes.
Sorry, I was away.
Yeah.
Can I attempt to cutting words one of the hits, or is it?
You definitely may.
Sorry. So I guess like as it's like pouncing on her, do like the cutting words to be like,
Yeah, sure.
hey,
Sure,
big, bald, and ugly. And you pick on somebody your own size. So one of those hits will have a -7.
Yeah. So it gets 2 claw attacks and a bite, and the bite, or sorry, one of the claws, my bad, is kind of halted as it sort of bites into her and begins scratching, and then looks up as you begin shouting at it, and there's just this moment of like looking at each other, while just the blood begins staining the fur of Layla as she takes, 24 points of various damages.
Fudge.
Yeah, these things hurt.
Very glad I bumped up my AC today.
Yeah. The other one is going to try and throw Arthas off. Oh, shit. And they rolled the exact same on the die, but the beast is way stronger than Arthas, and it just throws him back. It is still fairy fired, but it gets to his feet and begins kind of running over to press its advantage on Arthas. But before it is able to do that, it is Rose's go.
All right. Bonus action, spiritual weapon, the one that is
Yep.
not very fired.
Sure thing.
Does a 15 hit?
It does not.
And then I'll move up and make my actual attack.
Go for it.
For the exact same thing.
Unfortunately, that does not hit either. So yeah, this thing is just furiously laying into its prey, and you just can't quite get like the gap to strike. Alishan.
Okay. So you said that Layla is underneath one of the creatures?
She is, and she is being fucked up.
Okay, is there like Alishan's gonna do something stupid but brave. She's gonna run up directly underneath the creature, grab Layla by something, and cast Thunderstep, and teleport her and Layla away from the creature.
Oh, damn. Awesome.
Does she teleport somebody else?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, you do that.
Is
And
it like there's like a scruff of werewolf fur? She just like comes up and like grabs Layla around the neck, and as cracking thunderous energy comes off of Ella Sean. And when we exit the space, the creature must make a Constitution saving throw.
Oats. Natural 1.
Sweet. So that's going to be 3d10 thunder damage.
That's a boss spell.
Is that one you made up, Rob?
That's
It's
from
not.
Xanathar.
Oh.
You know, I am very complimentary of my own dungeon mastering, but I wouldn't make up a spell and be like, oh, I'm so cool. Well, actually, I say that I probably would.
17 points of damage, and me and Layla are teleported. I can do in 90 feet unoccupied space within range. So like
Definitely
back
anywhere in the glade.
Anywhere in the glade, basically.
Yeah. And sort of, she's like lying on her back, and she kind of gets to her feet and kind of stares into your eyes and grunts before just beginning to run straight back at the thing.
And then, like, very, very awkwardly, as a kind of, be more careful this time, as I cast Healing Word at her retreating form.
Sure.
For 8 points of healing.
Nice. All right. Good turn there. Remy
is AFK. Stirring his shosh.
No worries. Byron.
Sorry, I was muted. Try grab one of these again. For now. If it fails, it will give us a massive advantage. But if not, so DC 15 strength.
That's 21, I'm afraid.
Jesus. Okay.
As this thing again is just fighting back with tooth and nail.
Is it a large creature?
It is large.
Okay, cool.
And it just like snarls and refuses to be bound by your petty spells. So, Remy, you can jump back in.
Yes. Remy's still fighting the same one he was fighting from before, right? It hasn't dropped yet?
No, you are still fighting the same one.
Okay. And do I still have advantage?
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Sweet. Then yeah, just more of the same. He's just doing the old stabby. With bless, that puts it at a 28 to hit. I'm pretty sure that does it.
Yeah, just about.
Oh no, that's double ones on my damage. That's 7 points of damage on the first strike. Second strike. Ooh, it's gonna be tough. 18. You said hits, right?
Yep.
Okay. $13 points of damage. And final bonus action strike. That's a crit on a 19.
Nice.
So how do we do crits again?
Max damage plus a roll plus your mod.
Awesome. So 8 up to 12 plus 5 is 17 plus 18, 24 points of damage on that strike.
Damn. This thing is pretty much holding its guts in at this point.
Okay. Nice.
Fucking fall, you motherfucker!
Okay. So, Vela is going to try and finish it off That's a miss. Oh my god, that's a miss.
Kill
And that's
stealing.
another miss. She rolled fucking 2 6s and a 4. So she just like swings, and I imagine she just like falls over or gets battered out the way and sort of is barely able to even make the attacks, and it's just nowhere near her as it bounds back to its feet. Willow's going to shoot at it with a crossbow for a natural 5. So that dice is being retired. Jesus Christ. All right, it's going to hurl itself. The one that's being laid into by Remy is going to hurl itself at him. So Remy does a does a 29 hit you?
No.
And does a 21 hit you?
They both hit.
Fantastic. So you take some damage. You take 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is terrible amount of damage. I need a strength saving throw, please.
You got it. Oh god. It's gonna be a fail, I think. 5, 11.
You get bless on your saving as well.
That's with bless.
Oh,
Oh, I have it. I have inspiration,
I tried.
Do you have an inspiration?
so I'm gonna use that shit. There we go. That's a little better.
Dang,
22.
that is a success. Unfortunately, you do not learn why these are called splinterback beasts.
Was there some
Yeah.
stimulus? Was there some observable stimulus?
I imagine so.
I mean, what happened that I had to make a saving throw against?
So, it bit down into your shoulder, then it like slammed its claw into you and was trying to grapple you and hold you in place. So it began crushing you, and you just like pushed it off.
Physical contest.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So it began like squeezing you. The other one is going to chase down its a different prey. So the nearest person to it is Vela. As she's going for its kind of friend. So it's going to jump on Vela's back, who's not facing him. That's going to be a natural 3 and a natural 7. But the natural 7 is still a hit. Because these things have pluses for days.
An attack of opportunity.
I don't think so.
Okay. Just asking.
Because Vela's in melee already with it. Where are my d12s? There we go. So she... Oh, no, it should be d12s. It should be d8s. My bad. So it lunges at her with its claws. She takes 11 points of slashing damage and must make her strength save. And Vela is not very strong, and that's a natural 4, so she fails her strength save and is considered grappled. It is then going to bite her with its final attack then for a 23 to hit, and 2d12 damage. So it bites down into her shoulder and deals another 11 damage to her. As she is just like crushed under this thing's weight, and you see it begins kind of maneuvering her body into a position where she's about to deal some, or it's kind of maneuvering her and seems to be positioning her for something. But first, seeing this, Layla the werewolf is going to come flying in with a vengeance and get one hit on it with its claws. But is only going to deal a very small amount of damage to it, of 5. And it does not break its hold on Vela. who is being kind of contorted in this really weird way, just under it as it kind of like bends her backwards. Arthas is still fighting his one. Oh, damn. Right. Awesome. So you see Arthas in his werewolf form just like bite down on its neck, reach a hand into its mouth, and just pull the top of its top jaw off and the rest of its head with it, and kills it as blood just flies everywhere, and it drops down to its ground. And then he turns and roars at the one, crushing Vela. But first, Rose.
So bonus action, spiritual weapon.
Yep,
25.
that's it.
10 points of damage.
Nice.
And then I'm going to cast Cure Wounds on Vela. Because she's...
Is Cure Wounds a touch?
Yeah.
Okay. There's probably a bit of a sticking out that you can get to. But she's like being crushed by this thing. But you can kind of cure her from out from under it, I guess. Yeah, sure.
So that's for 6 points of healing. Because I rolled like shit.
Sure.
Did you have like extra bonusy things for being a life cleric to your healing
I
mobs?
rolled like shit.
Even I was like, fires would be higher.
Yeah, you should be rolling a d8 and then plus your wisdom mod and then plus the level of the spell plus 2 or something for a life cleric. It's quite a lot of health.
Yeah.
So 7. I rolled like shit.
No. Sure. Elshan.
Okay, so Vela is looking like she's gonna get snapped in half. How does the thing look that's got her, like health-wise? Is that the glowing one? or
Angry
is
as
that the other one?
fuck.
It's not the glowing
It's the
one.
non-glowing one. The glowing
Okay.
one died. And this thing does not look injured.
I'm going to choose to save that spell slot, and instead, Elishon again is going to reach into the pouch at her side and pull out the little wooden effigy that Arthas gave her a month ago before their fight with Jurokai. And she's gonna crush it in her hand and throw the dust next to the creature.
Wow. Awesome. So you see the dust kind of catch this imaginary breeze and then smash into the ground. And from the spot where the dust was grows this small sapling, which then keeps growing into this huge tree, which then sprouts arms and legs as you create a tree ant in the middle of the battlefield, which immediately rears its head and will go on the NPC turn.
And that was my action, right?
Correct.
Okay, bonus action. I'm going to yell out at Vela that you and quick before that thing snaps you in half. It's super encouraging, but
Super
she has
helpful.
she has a D8 for her save to maybe she can get out of that, I hope.
Maybe. All right. Remy.
Still trying to bring this thing down, right?
You are indeed.
The one
Yeah.
without advantage, this is.
I no longer have advantage. Hold on.
Yeah, that one died.
Are you guys hungry? Once this fight is done, I'm going to wrap it up. Okay. Sorry about that. So no more advantage on this guy, just less, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a natural too. So first one's a miss probably, but second strike is a 13, 22.
22's a hit.
Like that. No, 21. Sorry.
21's also a hit.
D8 plus D4 is 7, 12. Yeah, honey, he ate. And then the final strike with the dagger is a 20.
Hit.
For 9 points of damage.
All
Kind of a
right.
weak round. Like, it was really hoping to bring him down that round. Damn
Yeah,
it.
that's not great for him, is it? So, Byron.
Byron starts stepping slowly towards this monster. I imagine he's quite far back at any time anyway, but he is furious, and he like flicks his hand that has the mud of the moss still on it, and the hand like explodes. The big muddy hand just like flick as if it's been flicked by a larger force, just splatters against maybe the tree or something. And then he like shoves his hand forward in the air and like twists and clenches, and he casts Enlarge Reduce on Vela and makes her a large creature.
Oh, awesome.
So she just starts expanding out, and hopefully this thing is like rearing back a little bit, not
Yeah,
trying
definitely.
to keep its mouth on this creature that is then now as big as it, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. That's awesome.
And you just hear like Byron, just kill it.
Is that your turn then, Byron?
Yes.
All right. Well, it's this thing's turn.
I like whenever he gets frustrated, he just yells at other people to kill things.
Yeah.
Yeah, he gave his magic weapons to his best man to like
I
kill
know.
people with it.
So, I'm
Just
not too sure how to rule this, but there you go.
when she's enlarged, she has an extra D4 to all of her attacks because her fists are now massive.
Right.
She has advantage on strength checks and strength saving throws, and is doubles in all dimensions. So she's big and
Yeah.
increases her weight.
So,
Well, not that big. She was skinny.
yeah. So,
yeah, she's now a
unfortunately,
large creature.
unfortunately, this beast is going to.
Doesn't she get to go before the beasties? I thought the beasties were after the NPCs.
Oh, you're right.
Yes.
Actually, you're right.
It's now next.
So she gets to try and break out.
Advantage.
She rolls 2 13s, which with a
Plus the restoration.
D8, which is a 4 on the D8. So that's
pretty sure
17.
Doesn't want
plus
to have her now.
0 for a strength, so 17. The creature rolls a 21 for his strength. He has a +7 strength. Rolled a 14. Just I don't know. I feel like I should be open about this, so because it sounds to me like I'm trying to kill a Veil, which I'm not. It's just these things are.
Hey,
deadly.
Rob, is
Yeah?
that an ability check the creature is making?
It's a contested ability check, I guess. Yeah, sure.
Can I cutting words his roll?
Yeah, sure.
Because attack roll, ability check, or damage.
You have to get 5 at least reduced on it.
Okay, as they're the massive Vela and like the creature are at odds with each other. She just kind of points at the dead one and be like, "That's about to happen to you, buddy," and it's not gonna work though because that was a 4.
Oh no, tragic.
I tried though.
Yeah, so it is unchanged, and she is unable to escape. This thing's ridiculously powerful arms. So it is this thing's go after Arthur's and after Arthur's mom.
And there's also Willow.
And Willow. All right, Willow goes first. That's a miss, I'm afraid. Arthur's goes. That's 2 hits with his claws for minimum damage. God damn. So that was 2 1s. So it takes a total of what was it? Blah, 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 blah.
Can't like drag him off her. I mean, I can be shouting
Yeah.
to get him off her. Because if they
Yeah,
can
actually,
grapple and then pull him away.
yeah. His mum is going to try and grapple, but she rolled a 7 and it rolled a natural 20. It does sound like I'm trying to kill Vela, but I promise you, I'm being legit. I don't know. I just feel the need to say that. I don't even know if anyone's knowing me, but this thing has her in a vice, and so Arthas kind of runs in and just begins like scratching and biting at it, but can't seem to get a good grip. Layla runs in and kind of tries to shoulder charge it, sort of, or the werewolf equivalent, but it stands fast, just gripped down, and it's like hunkered down and made itself as small as possible. And you can just hear like the cracking of bones in Vela's back as she's being like rendered in two. This thing is going to use its action to perform an ability called, or perform an action called mutilate. So Vela has to make a Constitution saving throw.
Did you say tickle fight?
I did say tickle fight.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Okay. So it's DC 15.
She gets an advantage.
And she has a plus. Yeah, this is con.
Oh.
Oh my god.
She does have a D4.
It's a DC.
It's
a DC 15. Yeah, it's a DC 15. She has a +0, and she rolled a 15 natural.
Okay.
So she doesn't die, but she does take 4d6. So she takes 5, 6, 7, 17 points of bludgeoning damage, which does knock her out. It does put her down, but she is not snapped in half. And she, so you just see her go limp underneath this thing and stop fighting. I don't know if that reverts her size. I doubt it, but she, she like, yeah. So she just goes completely limp, and this thing continues to crush her. The treant, that's what it was. The treant is going to just come down and just swing with its hand. Oh, boom. Natural 18, that hits. For 10 points of damage. This thing is starting to look worse for wear, but it's definitely like... it's definitely still clinging to life and clinging to Vela. And is sort of starting to like try and crawl back into the forest a little bit, but while staying hunkered down, so it's moving like, you know, a foot per round sort of thing. Rose.
So can I get a hand on her at all?
Yeah, you can.
Try this cure wounds thing again. Much better. 14.
14. Yeah. She is violently brought back into the world of the living as she gasps and is sort of like, you see her body go tense again, but she's still being crushed and bent and broken by this thing. But she is awake again and just screaming in agony once more. Alshan.
Oh, I have my bonus action.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, my bad.
Yep. So that's a 23 to hit.
That hits.
And 11 points of damage.
Nice. Now it's Alshan, though.
Yeah. Elishan is going to point a finger at the creature and with a little bit of twist with, you know, her infernal speaking, do the snit and curse it with some dissonant whispers. Level 3. So that'll be a wisdom saving throw from the beastie, please.
Oh, he's
DC
fantastic
15.
at wisdom.
I'm sure he is.
That's a 7.
Awesome.
That's
how
his
many-
version of fantastic.
That's
how
pretty
many
fantastic for him.
D6? 3. Third level will be 5d6. Ooh, that's 11, 13, 14 points of damage.
Nice.
And that's it. That's it for me.
Okay, so this thing is just like, it's also screeching in agony, but it's nowhere near the. It's like this otherworldly sound, and Vela's screams are real, and they are just penetrating the whole forest. Remy.
So I still haven't killed the first fucking monster?
The first one was killed by
First
Arthas.
one's dead.
Oh, okay. He's dead. Okay, I'm just making sure.
Yeah, Arthas pulled its head off.
Okay. Well, I'm a little bitter that he killed my target, but now I'm gonna go save his mother.
You're
so
saving
No,
Simon's
you're saving
girlfriend right
Vela,
now.
the dark
I
elf.
can't help myself. I'm sorry, all the names sound the same. It's Vela, not Layla.
okay. I also heard
I-
just like 5 people talking all at the same time, so I have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do I have advantage on that guy?
No.
No? Okay, so no more advantages. Just bless. 3 attacks. That's 16, 24.
24 hits.
I'm just gonna. He's not taking as much damage, right?
Well, he's starting to look not great now.
Okay. I'll use all my attacks at once. That's 17, 25,
Both hit.
and that might miss. 8, 16.
That just misses, yeah.
Okay. So 2d8 plus 2d4. These numbers. $25 points of damage.
Boom. Yeah, this thing just roars in pain.
Oh, shit. I am going to action surge and take 2 more attacks
Go
out.
for it.
Natural 20.
Boom.
And then the second one is a 22. So that hits.
Also hits.
So I've got the natural 20. Do that first. 8, 12, 17 plus 25 total on the critical.
Yeah. Describe how you kill this thing just before it snaps Vela in 2.
Nice. So as he's got her in his jaws, I come over and I do a leaping dive with my rapier. And I managed to just get in like 3 hits before I land with the dive. And the final blow goes in one eye and out the other, since he's got that like long
Awesome.
wolf face or whatever. So like
Yeah.
from the side, like pierces through the front of the
awesome.
skull. Then he lands and wipes off his rapier and sheathes it, and he'll go over him and try to pull Layla away.
Awesome. Yeah, and she's just like broken. You can definitely tell that most of her bones are broken, and she's in severe pain and is struggling to breathe. But you have successfully killed these things, and eventually Layla and Arthas both revert back to their human forms. And
I'd like to be standing over Layla when she comes to, so that she gets like a really romantic flush when she sees Remy.
no, you saved Vela, the dark elf woman.
Oh,
not Layla.
oh, god damn it.
Sorry, I honestly, I don't know what I was thinking. All the names sound the same. The next person's going to be called like Flemmy.
There you
Some
go.
I'm Vex. He's Vex.
Yeah, that's it. So, you guys, yeah, sorry.
I think Rose and Elishan probably would be like running over to Vela and trying to heal her, possibly, or at least
Yeah, I mean, you do what you can, but
Sure.
it's going to take time.
Yeah.
This thing, the ability that it was using, if she failed that con save, it would have automatically killed her, and not unconscious, like death, because it would have splintered her back and snapped her spine. So she succeeded on that by 1 point, or she rolled the exact DC, which is just insane. So
With everybody having run to her side, Byron originally was taking steps forward, but then he kind of just drops to his knees instead. The echoes of her pain rattling
Yeah.
out his skull. Though he is too much beside himself to actually cancel the spell, so she's still huge or large.
yeah, and so with that, I know Dylan's got to get away and stuff, so we'll just you guys have successfully collected Marin's gift, and are going to be able to use that to make the potions that you need to distribute among those tainted by the chaos. But we'll deal with that in the first season, because it'll probably take a month to make all that potion, or I'll say it does anyway. But you return to the party victorious, and some of the druids take Vela away and begin providing natural remedies to sort of help her bones regrow, and try and prevent any permanent damage. The party, she comes back later that afternoon though, limping and using a crutch, or using her staff as a crutch, but able to walk. And she sort of is able to join the festivities, and you all kind of finish the party, and it's this huge feast. And by the end of it, everyone is so drunk and full that there's no way you can get back home. So you stay over with the Olfangr that night, and the next morning, Arthur's guides you home.
Do I have a moment in between all that? Or...
But yeah, that's what I was about to say, is any moments you want to do during all that, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I mean, I would love to roleplay the fuck out of this, but I really do have to go. Can we pick up next session here, or do you want to skip ahead in time?
I was going to skip ahead in time, but we can definitely have like a little 10, 15 minutes at the start of the first session, so that we can catch up on some of the roleplay, so that you can make it. I'm definitely happy to do that if everyone is.
Either way, I would love to be involved in that, but if I can't be, that's okay.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of potential there, so if everyone's cool, we can...
So I'd like to see some.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess we'll call it here then, and we can spend the first 15 minutes of season 2 going through the various
Could be like a
triangles and circles.
Be like a last episode on segment,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe cover some things that happened during like the next month too.
Yeah, right. We
Get
can
into, like the big things.
we can definitely sort of go through and take maybe like half an hour or so and just go through everything, all the cool kind of individual moments that everyone wants to cover from now and in the downtime and stuff that we missed. All right. Well,
like how George R.R. Martin was gonna do Feast of Crows, is just like